My baby don't mess around because he loves me so and doesn't know for sure. Thank God you really wanna don't stop to see me walk out the door. I wonder if I should change the tail. Don't try to fight the feeling, cause the thought alone is killing me right now. I'm sticking together cause we don't know how. Oh, you think you got it, but got it, just don't get it when there's nothing at all. We're here together, oh, we're here together. It's happened so better when the spin is involved. And they say that nothing is forever. What makes love the exception? In denial when we go, we're not happy here. Hello, Catherine. I don't like it just being okay. So you should put it more like here. It gives it more of a. Yeah, I think this is better. And then we'll put the other half here. I think that makes more sense. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. Hello everyone, I hope everyone's having an awesome day. Today we're going to finish off this commission. We only have 3 things left, and then that should take us about like less than an hour. So after this, we're going to jump into the next animatic after this. Pretty much.
Jolly Answer says hello, Teach.
Hello. Hello.
Oh, is it?
Hello. Doop doop doop.
He says hello.
Hello. Hello.
Everything I'm feeling, cause you told me not to worry about it. Month we're just friends now, being so irrational. Fast forward to my feet coming factual. And your ghost likes to visit with me nightly. Tell me how every day was something fictional. And
I see you in every single person that I meet. I'm sorry. With him is enough to leave me weak, and I hate it. You don't know how much I hate it. You don't know.
Renee says, how was your day going,
Pretty good, I think. Just want to finish this off today. We colored most of everything. So we've only got 3 things left. And we're doing 1 of the 3, so we got 2 left technically. And then once I'm done with that, just gotta do the eye, the bitches, tail, and that's it. And we're done. Oh, and the electric thing that you want, that'll be actually the 4th one. But I'll do that last. Sleepless nights I'm going looking at myself. Find them used to. nothing else. I loved you.
Janae says I have to start drawing my act as well.
Yes, you need to get around to that, bro. Gotta get into that drawing. I know you've been, but you don't want to wait too long. Cause I know how to use every single person that I meet. And I'm sorry, but the thought of you with him's enough to leave. And I hate it. Don't know how much I hate it. Hey Mendez, what's going on? Hey. What's going on? Don't know how much I hate it. Ooh. You don't know how much I hate it.
Janae says, yeah, I already have a picture in my mind.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Rabbit asks nothing much. You?
You know, just do my thing. We're about to finish off this drawing and then call it night. I'm gonna probably finish it today, but I don't know yet. We'll see. We will see. We will see where we'll land today, because I wanted to get to the AnimeArt to be posted by Saturday, but we will see where that will go.
I get lost
Inside my thoughts, and when I start to think,
all the darkness starts to end up on the brink. I try so
hard but always don't think I'm so deep.
Janae says also, have you sent me a ton I asked for?
A toot I asked for? Did you? What was the toot? What was the thing you wanted? I forgot. You tell me. This temperature bringing me down. You tell me, I'll get back. I'll get straight to it after the stream. Shading. Oh yeah. Yes, you did. I remember now. It was about shading. I will get to that. I will get to that. Thank you for reminding me. I had a feeling I did forget something. I wasn't sure it was that. Thank you for reminding me. I will get to that pronto. They know gave to me so long ago.
sleepless nights, I laid awake.
Begging to let go.
Almost got to suicide.
Thoughts and you stepped in.
An angel sent from heaven showed me
How to live again. Falling, I can see the crowd. Could we stop this gravity? She's bringing me down.
I can't
Break, I don't wanna die. Oh, thank you, honey. Thank you, Lenny. I appreciate it. Wanna say goodbye. I don't check my Insta often, and sometimes I don't get notifications, so I act. Oh, it's alright. That's my fault. That's not yours. I should have kept that noted after the stream, but I got so caught up doing this. I tend to have tunnel vision when it comes to my work, so just have to remind me. No harm. It is what you're paying for, so it's only right that you get what you want. I got you, I got you. What are you drawing? I'm finishing off from yesterday's commission. I didn't finish it last night because the client got busy with something, so I had to wait till their response on something. And it took all night, so I went to bed. But we're about to finish it today. We have 3 items to do with. We have to do all the coloring and stuff.
Rabbit said that.
Thank you.
Mono said I finished my commission today as well.
Let's go! Some commissions. You be out here doing commissions, bro. That's awesome. I know you do commissions. That's awesome. You should be proud of yourself. Let me see. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. We're gonna have to clean up some parts and shade in some areas. So I'm gonna make it like that. Okay. Now we're gonna get this part here. I'm walking home, and you falling thirst in a ball. I know. Give me a ticket. Yeah, a friend paid me $10, huh? Oh, just real quick. Are you guys having any difficulty over there on the phone? Because I know you guys may have some like glitching or whatever, so let me know if you're experiencing that. Trying to figure out how to better over there. A little, okay. Okay, I got you. Thank you. A little glitching. That means we may have to get a new phone. It's laggy here and there. Okay. I think that we need to get a new phone. This phone's too old. I may need to upgrade. Amazing work, shit. Doo-doo. Let's get this in here. Oh. Okay. Right in here a little bit. You know what? I'll keep that closed for now. Come back to that in a little bit. Let me see if I'm close to the tail that she said she wanted me to do. Hold on. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3. Okay, it has a heart on it. Okay, got it. Didn't be left off my silent way, babe. You, my heart was on the ground. Let's go round. Better than struggling with messages on TikTok. I'm so sick with their protection. I understand. I get it. I understand, bro. I understand. It's really annoying, and I feel bad for you guys because it's not like I'm doing that at all. And it's sad because there might be some people who are trying to actually talk, and because of TikTok's strange censorship situation, they may be talking and think I'm ignoring them, which I'm not. I can't see it. So, well, I have to go take some medication. Have a great night. You too, hon. Like art. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay. I'm gonna put the tail. I told someone in the comments that they are stupid for saying AnimeArt when the person posted legit and got another strike. Really? Oh wait, I've been hearing lately now there's a thing where you can actually make a speed art with AI or something. I don't know if that's true that is, but I heard that's a thing now. So you gotta be, even sometimes that's not good enough to prove that you drew it, because some people will use AI to do a speed art. There's ways of doing that now. I don't know how they work, but it's annoying to hear that. So it's a point where you have to actually record yourself doing the artwork.
Said, yeah, I heard too, but haven't seen one.
I haven't seen one yet, but it'll be probably hard to spot one if it's like speed art, right? Because we're gonna just probably assume someone drew it. That's gonna be a big problem. Looks good. Did you see the news that people find a human egg from farm in Georgia? Is that a thing? I'll look that up later.
Mono said, yeah, but they were making mistakes and fixing it, so you know it's legit.
Oh, okay. How do you tell? No way. Oh no, that's this. So what is this one? I don't know, I saw it on my FFP. Oh, okay. So wait, you got a flash goal. What is a flash goal? Flash goal. 3 gifters send Chris to your live in 15 minutes. Achieve this optional goal to a 24-hour goal theme. Your current live goal will resume when Okay, let's hit start. Pin. Alright guys, there's the flash goal. So apparently if you send a golden rose, we only need 3. 3 gifters send 1. We need 1. Each person needs to send at least golden rose. It is equivalent to a regular rose. It just has to be a glass rose. That's kind of crazy. I didn't know that was a thing. I just got that. That's brand new. I've never seen that before. So like you have to send a glass rose within 15 minutes of the stream. That's new. Never seen that before. Yeah, I never knew that existed either. That's fun. So if anyone's here watching or paying attention, which I don't think most of you are, because I'm not drawing anime girls right now, I'm doing a commission. I think that's something that'll be kind of cool. I'm gonna try to do that more often. I don't really take part in a lot of like TikTok events. I should. That probably might benefit me in the long run, but like it's just something I haven't done before. But I'll give it a chance, I guess. I don't think I should have posted that yet. I think I should have posted that after the fact when I was done with this so I can draw some anime girls to bring in more people. Oh well, it's okay. If we don't make it or not. So, that's kind of cool. That's brand new.
Beanbag says hi, T.
So if you guys send a rose, a glass rose, in the first 15 minutes, you have to send at least 1 little glass rose. That will help us get goals. So that's what's on the screen right now. For those who don't know, it's a flash goal. Never knew that was a thing. So you need to send 3 little glass roses, and that's it.
Janae says I tried and it says
invalid. Okay, that's weird. So why is it there then? Pin. Achieve this goal when 3 gifters send
Beanbag
crystal.
Bean Sprout as a feature.
Oh no! Not the little one. Hope he feels better. I'm pretty sure it's just a little common cold. Achieve this goal when 3 gifters send a crystal rose to your live. Pin to get more
Janae
attention.
says that Beanbag hope he gets better.
Can I move it? I said pin.
Beanbag says has alright, just a cold.
Okay, I'm pretty sure he's fine. What happens to the ongoing live goal in the creator starts in Flash? The ongoing live goal will pause, and when the creator starts a Flash goal, it will resume only after the Flash goal ends. What happens to the goal? What happens to the Flash goal in the creator ends?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello. A Flash goal is limited time to mission. It starts dismiss. So we need 1. So 3 people need to send at least 1 crystal
Janae
rose.
says that bright for close. Good afternoon, Brian.
How does that work? But if it's up there, they can't interact with it. You only got 10 minutes to send 1 little crystal rose.
Bright for close says that mono/high mono.
That's a weird one. If anyone wants to do that, go ahead. Kind of want to see what happens. Do I get like some type of what? What do I get for that? I don't think they say anything what I get for it. What happens if I do this mission? What happens? Do I get something special? Do I get recognition? Huh. I don't know. Weird. I don't know. Okay, I think that's it. Michael Myers. Okay, there we go. Table. I clicked on send glass rose and it said request invalid. Why is that invalid? That's weird. Why would they give that to me if no one can't send it? Wait, Bean, is it possible you can send a glass rose? Because Mono said he can't. Huh. Can't send it. What the hell? Then why did they give that to me? What the hell? We got 9 minutes. So, wait. Fast goal. Is that after the time? Achieve this goal when gifters send. Okay. So, if I go. Gifts, live gifts, and I go to gift gallery. Okay. I don't know what any of these things are. I don't really fuck with these things. Hold up. I don't understand. Gift record, refresh. You know, they still do the glass thing in the first place. I thought they abandoned that. Yeah, I don't see it anywhere. View your league. Okay. I don't know what that is. I don't know what any of this stuff is. I'm in League D. Okay. Top 99%.
Artextric says, Teach, did you answer Mono question on Discord?
Oh. Wait. You sent a question? Wait, Mono, you sent a question just recently? Or are you talking about the shading one?
Artextric says shading.
Yeah, no, I didn't do that yet. I just talked to him about that a little before you came into the stream.
Danae says that Artextric hasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, he handed me that just today. I will get to it after the stream. What color is this thing? Okay, now.
Danae says W, take his time.
Got you. Okay, let me see. If I go to, what color is the tail? Oh, it's just pink, I think. It's pink, I think. Like a neon pink. It's kind of weird. Okay, so we need to color that. We don't need. Okay, we need to. And then go down here. Grab this. We grab a pink. Okay, there. What is this mission I'm doing for a client? They want me to redraw their character. Not redesign, but redraw. I would redesign it, but then again, it's like, that's not what they paid me for. Okay, that's done. Now we gotta shade this. Okay. Like that. And then we do like, oh shit. Hold on guys, I'm sorry. What am I doing? There, and then we go over here. Okay, this song one last time, and then we'll go watch some TV. We'll watch some YouTube videos I have ready to go. We got 4 minutes till that thing ends. But that's weird. Why they give me that option to do it, but then they won't let anyone send it? looks like it's kind of pointless. It's weird. And see the ground. Could we stop this gravity? Bring me down. Okay, like this. Gravity. Say goodbye.
Janae says you probably have to put that gift in your allowed gifts.
Do you? How do you do that? Let me see. You go to. Okay, I go to this settings, rankings, comments. That's not it. Hear your voice. Don't care about that. It says campaign support, tech disclosure. Pause live settings. Nothing. So if I go to more. Go to live gifts. Get invitation early. What is this? Julius the champion. What is this shit? This is some weird shit. This gravity. This app hasn't received gifts yet. You can check out the recommended. Wait. Okay, guys, send a regular basic rose. I want to see something. Just a basic one. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like a one little rose. I kind of want to see something.
Roses are roses, baby.
Okay. It says gift record. Okay, it shows that. Okay, I see it there. It says gift record. Now, see if you can send the glass one still. If it can't, then I don't know. I don't think it can. This is where only gifts sent to this live artist. Still can't. Okay. I don't know. TikTok's weird. I don't really get TikTok. This is part why I don't really take part in their like events, because they always seem very janky. It's annoying. Okay, there we go. Alright, let's watch some TV while I work to finish up anyway. Come on, get this music. Stop. Okay, now let me see what we have for today. Don't need that. Don't need this. We'll get that one last. What do we have for today? So there's something called here the pause challenge. I don't know what is, or whatever that's supposed to be. So we're gonna see what that's about. It's an art thing. So for those who don't know. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. So as we watch, we're gonna figure out what is the pause challenge is. And figure out what that's about.
Am I late to the trend? I can do it now.
You know what, dude? I'm just disappointed at this point. Like, me and you, bro to bro, let's have a chat, okay? This is the stone of my enemy. If I took your head off, would you be happy? No. Don't forget.
So a little while ago, an artist called Sanders Arts made a pause challenge, and I've been trying it, but just never got around to it. In case you don't know, the pause challenge is where you get a bunch of prompts flashed on screen, and you have to draw whatever traits you land on when you pause the video. I love character, but I don't have any video ideas. So
this is a thing? I thought this was...
Alright, let's see what we got. Skin tones. Okay, off to a good start. So this isn't going to be the most cutesy theme. Alright, what we got for eyes? A little surprised. Maybe that ties into the whole blood theme. Hair. Okay, you know what? Kind of slay. Starting to see the vision already, honestly. onto outfits.
Do you still say that shit?
Are you kidding me? It was going so well. Okay.
Thank you, Beanbag, for sending 1X hard me.
Let's just see what else we get. Eye color. Gonna bring some bright yellow into this.
I don't know.
I don't know how I feel about that one. What's next? Accessories.
Just wanna get, it was an invite.
Oh,
Teacher.
Janae says teach a new one here.
Another one?
Oh, wait. I think that
Wait,
actually
where?
really works. Okay. Okay,
Oh,
I
it's
have a
gone
vision
now. The goal thing is gone. It's
let's
just
get
gone.
started on this. I think my main challenge here is
I don't see
gonna be
anything.
getting you to work with.
Thank you,
this,
Mono, for
'cause I don't
sending
wanna
1X
just put
hard
these
me.
together, right? I want it to
Thank
feel
you.
like it could have a coherent story.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
think
not. I
the
don't see
idea is
anything.
she was like pushed to her limit and
Janae says no, it's 2000.
I don't
Hear
know,
me
I feel like I
once.
could do something
Hear
really
me once.
interesting with this contrast between like bodysuit and then sort of just cyberpunk vibes.
Oh, heart me once. Oh, that's what you mean. No, that's the old thing I have up there.
Bodysuit. Maybe she has some blades like coming out
That's
of
the
there
old
as well.
one.
Well, let's add on to this design a little bit. I really want some kind of like cyber horror.
Let's see what that
something.
gold
We've got
flash
this
thing was again. I
twin
want to
tails
get
thing
that
going
going.
on for the hair. Maybe her face is in like segments.
Okay.
That sort of horror vibe going.
Okay, the tail's done.
Wait, is she doing the Miku pose? I just realized. Wait, hold on. Hold on. I need to check something. I need to check something. Wait, no. No.
Huh.
There's no way. With the twin tail, everything. Oh my goodness. That's an Miku. What happened? I feel like I need to give her a number now. There we go. Like one, but different. I've accidentally made a Miku Sona. It is great. It kills
I think
me
I
to
fixed it.
not use
There you
like any color pretty much. Which is funny because my persona doesn't
Okay.
actually wear much color. But I love colors. Why would you take this away from me?
Okay,
What
the
colour did
tail
we
is
pair? I feel
pretty
like
much
definitely
done.
not blue because does that work? I mean, let me just try a few different things. Just stick with the but it's already so grey. It's already so grey. Grey hair could work. Slash white hair.
Janae
Well,
says
it's
I gotta
like
go
pretty
sleep
light,
now.
pretty-
Okay, do your
Yeah.
thing. Do your thing.
You know
Mom.
what? I'm actually pretty came out like as a design. Obviously, it's super rush. I did this in like 17 minutes. But you know, what is a character without a? I hope you're comfortable, nice and tucked in, because yeah, I think it's story time.
The Joker. Oh, now
Right
they
to
get
close
one.
says it
Seven was just
Mono.
another
Gian
remedy.
Mono.
Drowning in debt, desperate for a way out. So when a new underground
Nate
special
says bye-bye,
contract with
everyone.
promises of life amongst high society, she signed without question. Turns out there was more to the fine print. They didn't just want a girly suit, they wanted a weapon. Experimental cybernetics, steel grafted to her bones. But it was just for show, at first. Entertainment with an edge, they called it. Fear and desire wrapped in one. Wealthy clients loved the adrenaline kick, you see. The added thrill of danger just to feel something in their miserable lives. Conditions were horrible, and it only got the ones above continued to chip away at her humanity, squeezing her for everything she's worth. It isn't a surprise she finally snapped. Maybe it was the wrong touch, the insensitive laughter, the wrong pair of hands pulling her backstage, reminding her that the fear was never theirs to feel. That moment replays in her mind. The blood, the screams, the way the blades moved as if her arms had a will of their own. She's out, but she doesn't know if she'll ever truly be free again. The system would never side with her. Hell, they were probably the ones funding it. So she's on her own, a ghost to society. But it's left her with something more. A thirst for some kind of justice, to hunt down the last of those who did this to her, to show that it's like to feel true fear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope I did this challenge justice.
Oh, shit, I'm on the
realised this
wrong-
took
what
quite
the
the change
fuck?
in tone. You know what? This definitely got me to step out of my comfort zone. Just like figuring out how to work all of this into one design. But it was a really fun challenge. I think if you guys enjoyed this. But for now, how do YouTubers end intros? Did you know 2% of you are subscribed? Okay, yeah, get out of here.
Okay. So that what that was. Okay. Okay.
And of course, it's not a pause art challenge unless you have a scandalous bunny suit.
Should have it on paper. What's this one? Okay. So I saw this one. Not saw this, but I came across
Yes.
something very interesting. So I
It's
think
correct.
some of
The
you
show
may
is
know
called
what.
Walkthrough. And if you
I
haven't,
don't. I think you may have seen this on Netflix if you had Netflix at one point, or probably ran into this on accident. The show is called Walk Fu. It's, I think, made in France. It's supposed to be like a hyper stylized anime kind of. It's not an anime from Japan, but it's an anime inspired. From that game called Dofus or Doofus, depending on who you're asking. It used to be on Miniclip back then in the early 2000s or 2010s, I think 2010s. They got their own show called Walkthrough, and it's pretty much an Odyssey journey type thing, and it's pretty much jumps on like pretty much shonen type like themes. So here.
Haven't heard of it, don't worry, you're about to. Because the creators at Hong Kong actually wrote to me and asked that I shared the show with you all. And it actually was pretty cool. Recently, it launched a Kickstarter campaign that
Hit
raised
a
over
comment.
$1 million in less than 24 hours. That's a French anime series that somehow flew under your radar. Just made more money overnight than most people make in a lifetime. But why? Because after my research, it's packed with magic, epic fights, and enough emotional moments to make you question your life. You might think, oh, it's just a cute French cartoon. And technically, you'd be right. But trust me, this will wreck you, laugh at your misery, and leave you craving for more. So let's break down why Walkthrough is way better than your average Saturday morning animation, aka Naruto. It's just a joke. Please don't come for me in the comments. I just needed a good title, okay? Walkthrough is a French anime series created by originally released in 2008, set in the Cosmos universe, which is just a fancy way of saying there's just a lot of lore. The story follows Yugo, a kid who discovers he can open portals like Count Doctor Strange, bro. But wait, there's more. He's part of an ancient race called the Eliotropes, and surprise, surprise, he's the chosen one. Alongside a group of absolute peak characters off on an adventure full of crazy enemies, more dilemmas, and heartbreak that will leave you questioning if this is really a kid's show. The World of 12 is essentially an RPG map on steroids. You got everything from enchanted forest to wasteland, all ruled by 12 gods who may or may not be absolutely terrible at their jobs. This world is bizarre creatures, unstable politics, and enough danger to make you wonder why anyone would choose to live here. But hey, it makes for some fantastic storytelling. Also, better world building. Now, let's talk about our band of low idiots, the Brotherhood of Tofu. Yeah, that's their name. Tofu. It sounds weak, but trust me, these guys are anything but that, trust me. First, there's Yugo, and Eliotro, basically an interdimensional parkour expert. He's got a major hero complex, but honestly, it works for him. Then there's Percy Dahl, or Dolly, the lovable himbo of the group. He's all muscle, no brain, and wields a demonic sword that roasts him daily. Their relationship, the definite toxic bromance. Evangeline, the sniper of the squad, she's the responsible one, constantly reminding Dolly that thinking before acting is actually an option. And Rule,
If I remember, I think Dolly and her gets together and have children.
broke uncle who won't stop reminiscing about his glory days. Literally, I love this character. He's a treasure hunting goblin of a man who smells like bad financial decisions. Literally, that's his character. Finally, Amalia, the Echo Warrior Princess. She's got plant-based magic.
I think majority of most people have seen this character design, this character specific, many times without realizing where it's from, especially on Pinterest or probably on Twitter. She's the one with the green hair, and she wears like these kind of like nature-like outfits. For those who haven't seen the show, I think people have ran into this character several times without realizing.
Drydroclose says I know I did.
See what I'm talking about? I ran into her several times a little before I started watching the show back in, was it 2015? Was it in 2015? I think it was 2015. It was wild. That was at the height of Gamergate and all that shit.
And character energy and family drama that's way too relatable. On the surface, Walkthrough is a fun adventure story, but under all of that, it's a roller of existential crises, emotional betrayals, and why is this happening to my favorite character moments. Tackles themes like fate, sacrifice, and what it means to be a hero. Speaking of emotional damage,
Beanbag says by Mono.
the main villain of season 1 is a time manipulating zealot. Basically what happens when you mix a genius with a psychotic break. His backstory, absolutely stating. You might start the show thinking, oh, he's just a bad guy, and then at the end you're the bad guy for thinking he was a bad guy. Now the animation is pretty good. It's got that smooth, stylish energy that makes every fight scene was choreographed by Cole Bennett. Seriously, some of these battles put big budget anime to shame, actually. And the best part, it's not just flashy, but it's actually tactical, unlike the last one that was just hating. I'm joking. Every move feels like a chess game where one wrong step means doom. Something a series we know should take some advice on. Okay, I'm just hating at this point, guys. Please don't massacre me in the comments. Like, that was actually the last one that time. Wakfu's unique style and storytelling didn't come out of nowhere. The series draws inspiration from multiple sources, blending elements from anime, video games, Western animation, and French storytelling traditions. One of the most obvious influences is Japanese anime, particularly series like Avatar: The Last Airbender and Naruto. The fluid combat animations, feature development, and expansive world building all echo the strengths of some of the best anime storytelling. The influence of video games is also undeniable. Since Wakfu is rooted in the RPG Dofus, its world operates like a game, complete with distinct character classes, power systems, and RPG-style quests. This game-like structure makes the world feel interactive, as if the viewer is exploring alongside the characters. French animations and comics for Vendée and Destiny have also played a significant role. Series like Asterix and Tintin the way for French anime storytelling that blends humor with adventure. Wakfu embraces this tradition and pushes it even further with its serialized format and emotionally charged narrative. Classic Western animation, particularly from studios like Disney and DreamWorks, influenced Wakfu's use of expressive character animation and comedic timing. The blend of these different styles and inspirations in a series that feels both familiar and entirely fresh, making Wakfu stand out as a truly unique and captivating experience. Before Wakfu became the beloved series that I'm about to describe to you, it started as an ambitious project by Oncom, a French multimedia company known for its innovative approach to storytelling. The origins of Wakfu can be tracked to Dofus, a turn-based MMORPG released in 2004. The success of this laid the groundwork for the Cosmos universe, a vast and intricate world that would later expand into multiple games, comics, and, of course, the Wakfu animated series. It sought to create an animated show that not only served as a standalone story, but also deepened work for the existing universe. Unlike many Western animated series at the time, Wakfu was designed with a serialized narrative, blending humor, action, and emotional depth in a way that felt unique. The action was done using Adobe Flash, which gave the series a distinct fluid motion style that set it apart from the traditional hand-drawn or computer-generated animation that we see today a lot. It premiered in 2008. It was met with critical acclaim, particularly for its storytelling, worlding, and character development. The show quickly gained a passionate fan base, leading to the additional seasons, OVAs, and even a successful Kickstarter campaign that I mentioned to fund a continuation of the story. Today, Wakfu stands as a great example of what can be achieved when activity and fan support come together. On top of all this, Wakfu has a very cool game. That's right, you can actually play in this world and probably get your butt beat by an overpowered board. It's a tactical turn-based MMO with an economy that players can control. That means if you cut down too many trees, congratulations, you just caused an environmental crisis. So if you ever want a game where you could ruin the ecosystem, there's one for you. Wakfu's latest expansion introduces Misty Isle, a mysterious new zone filled with secrets, epic challenges, and treasures, and players can now reach a maximum.
Jolly Answer says, decided I am going to try hand at a little candle making.
This expansion is the return of Nox, the iconic antagonist and the guy that I talked about that has a crazy backstory. Players will have the opportunity to delve into Nox's backstory and uncover the origins of his quest for Wakfu. Additionally, the expansion features Nox's Clock, the Tower of Ascension, a new event where players can climb a tower by 3 objectives per week, testing their strength and strategy, kind of like Tower of God. This update not only expands the game's content, but offering both new and returning players fresh adventures and insights into the Wakfu universe. So, why do you watch Wakfu? Well, if you like stunning animation, deep lore, lovable characters, and occasional emotional trauma,
Jolly Answer says the character is looking great, BTW.
It's a mix of high energy, adventure, and gut punch storytelling. And with 3 full seasons plus extra episodes, plenty to enjoy. There's also not a whole lot of filler, you know, like a certain anime called Naruto. Okay, that one I meant. Also, if you're tired of mainstream anime and want something fresh, Wakfu is an absolute banger. The good news, you can watch it for free on certain platforms. The bad news, you might get addicted. And And that's about guys. I'm beyond excited that the amazing folks at Uncommon Studios reached out to me to let me share this incredible series with you guys. And if you already seen the walkthrough, drop a comment below of your favorite moment maybe. I just got into it and it's actually not that bad. And if you haven't watched it yet, then go fix that immediately. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell, you know, because let's be honest, you need more top tier nerd content in your life. Whether you're here for the animation or maybe you don't like the show, but walkthrough probably has something for everyone. Sticking around, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay awesome, guys.
Okay. I watched 30. Let's see what else do we have here. You know what? I've never really watched him in a while. Hold up. Let me see. What's his name? Fuck, what is his name? Something animation.
Hydroclose says who?
It was some dude who gives like, what do you call it? Hold on. I'll find it. Hold on. Hold up. Found it. New Frame Plus. I haven't watched him in a while. I wonder if he's still making content. Okay, let me jump on something that seems... This animation. He only focuses on animation, specifically in gaming. So it'll be nice to hear what's here. So let's go to 60 dodge animations. Let's go with this one.
Pretty straightforward. How good does which video game has the best dodge animation? I don't know yet, but let's see you get that out. Hi, I'm Dan. I've animated in video games for about 10 years now, and this is my channel about video game animation.
What?
Welcome to New Frame Plus. What even makes a dodge animation in a video game good or bad? Different games can completely different animation needs. An attack animation which works great in a turn-based RPG will probably work horribly if you just drop that same asset into a fast-paced action game. An animation which looks fantastic to a first-person camera will likely look bizarre from any other camera angle. The needs of the game dictate the goals for animation, and an animation's quality ultimately comes down to how effectively it achieves those goals. I usually find it helpful to assess gameplay animation's quality from tools, function, and appeal.
You can do that after, we'll do that after this video.
Appeal is pretty straightforward.
How
the animation look? Is the motion itself aesthetically pleasing? How well is that implemented in-game? Does it transition to and from other animations cleanly during play? Does the animation suit the game's aesthetic? And does the animation character? How much personality does the movement convey? These aesthetic questions are important, but because we are talking about animations built for gameplay here, there is an even more crucial factor to consider: functional quality. How well does this animation support the functional needs of the game's play experience? How does the animation impact game feel? Does the animation provide the visual feedback and clarity you need to understand what's happening on screen and react appropriately? When it comes, function is ultimately more important than appeal. Because if an animation isn't achieving its functional intent in the play experience, whatever that intent might be, then it doesn't really matter how pretty the animation might look, because it's making the game experience worse. Now, I have carefully examined the dodge animations from like 100 different video games for this, many of them recommended by my patrons. Big thank you to all of these people, as well as all the people who declined to have their name included in the video itself. You know who you are, thank you very much. My only qualifying criteria were: 1, the dodge animation
Bean says hi, Bri.
must belong to a player character, so no animations that are exclusive to NPCs or enemies. 2, it must be a gameplay animation, so dodges which are in cutscenes, cinematics, or trailers do not qualify. And 3, it must be an animation which is primarily intended for evasion. There are a lot of things you can do to avoid damage in various games, from blocking, to parrying, to countering, to jumping, to running away very fast. But to call all of these dodge animations would be overstretching the definition. And just to get ahead of some angry comments, I want to stress up front, this is not a ranking of how strategically superior any given dodge is compared to the dodges in other games. Like, I'm not ranking one dodge animation over another one just because it has more iframes or something. That's not the point. Nor is this ranking meant to reflect each game's overall quality, because there are plenty of great games with mediocre dodge animations, and vice versa.
TikTok's
Cool.
annoying.
Alright. Now, we got a lot of games to get through here, but let's start slow and go a little more in depth on this first one, just to cover some basic principles and establish a baseline. First up,
Mag said it's crazy for not letting say anyone's name.
as with
I
most
know.
of the games on this list, Link actually has multiple dodge animations, so we'll just judge them all as a bunch. We've got a forward roll, and then when you lock onto a target, you also get access to some side hops and a backwards flip. And considering this is one of the oldest games we're going to be looking at today, these are very solid. These animations come out very quickly. Press the dodge button and Link's already started launching himself in the direction you specified within just a few frames. These animations also resolve fairly quickly, putting you back in control almost immediately when he has both feet on the ground. And that's good, because if you're in a situation where you are pressing the dodge, you're probably in some kind of danger. Or speedrunning. One of the earliest things that you're taught as an animator is the importance of both anticipation and follow-through, of the wind-up before the action and the recovery afterward. You need both to properly sell the physicality of an action like dodging, but, as you might have noticed here, Link is basically skipping both of those things. He doesn't crouch down before launching into his backflip, and he barely has a recovery for realistically the force of his landing afterward. If you were to put this backflip animation into a film unchanged, in that context, this
annoying.
would just be straight up bad animation.
Yeah.
Remember, in game animation, function is more important than appeal. This is one of those fundamental differences between animation for video games and animation for other media. In gameplay, dodging is mechanically often meant to be a quick reaction the player can make to avoid incoming danger. And if you're hitting the dodge button in a game, you want your character to move now. So, in order to feel responsive to your button press, dodging is generally one of those gameplay animations that needs to start very quickly. Again, different games have different needs, so this is not true 100% of the time, but on average, these are animations where a lengthy wind-up or follow-through could easily make the game feel much worse to play. The clarity on these animations is solid too. Each type of dodge maneuver is visually distinct, the posing of the side hops emphasizes the direction you're dodging, and the way Link jumps ahead of camera for a few frames creates some clear visual contrast between dodging and regular siding. Even at this tiny resolution of 320 by 240 pixels, running at 20 frames a
Jolly
second,
just says, oh
Link's
wait,
animation
MDM, I
still
thought that
reads
was
pretty
Mario
clearly.
for a
In terms of characterization, I would say that these animations are largely just
Oh.
functional. There's not a ton of personality to these. Although I do love that both young and adult Link dodging looks so similar. Whichever version of Link you're currently controlling, his animations feel like they belong to the same person. I have always been a little on the fence about this, though. It
359
functionally
Zelda.
works just fine as a backwards evasive move, but it is also unusually acrobatic. Now, to be clear, I'm not concerned about whether or not this is realistic or effective real-world combat technique or whatever. I don't think that's really relevant here. But it has always stood out as a little much for a character whose moveset is otherwise not terribly flashy. It's kind of like when Link started doing aerials and flips when jumping in Majora's Mask. Like, women from all of a sudden, bud? Who has been teaching you gymnastics? In the woods. Overall though, and especially for 1998, these are some very solid dodges. I would say that this sits comfortably around B tier. But here's a question. How is Link's dodging looking today?
Well, that depends.
After 19 years of iteration, Link's dodging has evolved a bit. The forward on, but we do still have 4 directional dodges when locked on, including the silly backflip, which has just become tradition at this point. Functionally, this is just as responsive feeling as Ocarina's, if not more so, thanks to the higher frame rate. Aesthetically, I'm a little on how stiff some of these feel, although I do like that we've got more of a recovery settle on the landings now. But let's talk about the newest addition, the perfect dodge. Time your dodge just right, and it will trigger this slow motion effect, setting you up for a flurry of counterattacks. This is a great thing. It gives you more incentive to use your instead of just blocking everything, and nailing that perfect timing feels very good. The only problem is that the conditions for triggering this flurry rush slow motion seem consistent. you are inevitably going to experience plenty of moments where it doesn't work and you aren't entirely sure why. Like, why does this jump, where I am actually succeeding in dodging out of the way of an attack, not trigger a flurry rush, but this one, where I dodge after the attack already missed on its own, does? That feels wrong. It's a minor issue, but it is still a case of unclear visual feedback, leaving the move less reliable than it should. These dodge animations are perfectly serviceable, but I think still room for improvement. So for now, I think Link's dodges will remain in B tier. Speaking of perfect dodge timing, though, let's move on to a franchise with a little more personality. Similar to Link, Bayonetta has 4
Jolly
dodge
Antra
variants.
says, have
4
you ever played
backward
Zelda
and to
yourself,
either
Peach?
side.
Yes, I have. I only played the N64 version.
She also has some aerial versions of these, which you can unlock, and if you dodge with perfect timing, you are rewarded with Witch Time, a brief window of slow motion where the enemies are at your mercy. And this feels amazing every single time. Functionally, these animations are firing on all cylinders. They are responsive, they are clear, and they communicate so much helpful information. When you get the dodge timing right, even before Witch Time officially kicks in, you get that little freeze, about 16 frames of slow motion to signal to you that, yep, you nailed it, good job. But on top of all that, these dodge animations also signal when you are doing it wrong. If spamming the dodge button too frequently back to back, if you are panicking rather than reacting with precision, your dodge spam will eventually result in this unique variation with a much longer recovery time, leaving you vulnerable. It feels much worse because it's the game warning you that spam.
Oh yeah, it's like, okay, the game is punishing you for trying to spam that. Okay, good, makes sense.
Spamming dodge is not a viable way to avoid. You're gonna need to actually wait and react.
Hello.
But, and this is important, even though that dodge spam punishment animation feels worse, it doesn't worse. Because Bayonetta, the character, is always in control, even if you, the player, are not. So she still makes that jump look intentional, like it's part of the dance she's doing. In terms of appeal, it is very hard to find a video game character with animation that communicates personality louder than Bayonetta. She is an over-the-top demigod of a character, and the confidence in her animation makes it. Every single move is uniquely suited to her aesthetic. Or at least, almost every move. Her forward dodge is great, her backward dodge is great. Those side dodges, though, they look fine, there's nothing wrong with the animation, exactly, but for Bayonetta, these side rolls are kind of bland. Same reason that Baby Link doing backflips out of nowhere feels kind of odd, Bayonetta not doing something in an unnecessarily acrobatic and
says that
sultry
game
fashion
looks like
feels
it's
odd.
pretty.
I'm gonna put this one in A tier, but only because I know where things are headed.
It's not reviews, it's...
The animators at
anime.
Platinum clearly felt the same way about those side rolls, because those
It's not him doing any reviews, he's just talking about animations.
are pretty much the only dodge animations they replaced in the sequel. Now she does this, and this is much more Bayonetta. Does this spinning knee any
Logan
kind of
Jada
realistic
says
physical
okay.
sense? Not at all. Does that matter even a little bit? On this character? No, it does not. What's more, they seem to have given her a forward dodge animation specifically for when she's in combat. Not sure why, but it feels even more like an evasive maneuver, so works for me. They took everything great about Bayonetta's original dodging and just made it better. This right here is an S-tier dodge animation, no question. And, you know, as long as we're here, Bayonetta 3 seems to stick with the same set of dodge animations, but unchanged. And that's just fine, because there is no point messing with perfection. Really, the only reason I left this one on the list to include
Logan
is
Jada
because
says,
this
did he
particular
make one
trilogy
for
ranked
Persona?
in this order is
I don't know.
very
You
funny
just
to me.
start watching
But
this.
let's look at another game where dodging is possibly one of the most crucial gameplay actions the player has.
He's gonna say Dark Souls. Let's go!
Okay, so we've got a dodge roll with 4 directions again. Get used to seeing a lot of that, because it's kind of the standard. As well as this backstep, you press dodge without tilting the left stick. But on top of that, in order to convey the weight of the player's gear loadout, there are 3 versions of each dodge. A lightweight, a mediumweight, and a heavyweight. And yeah, I know there's also some fancy unique dodges if you're wearing a specific ring, but have you seen how long this video already is? Please. How tangible a difference your equip load makes to your dodging. The heavy roll feels clumsy, graceless, ensuring that the player feels the consequences of their choice to armor up like a tank. It's pretty difficult to effectively
Damn.
communicate where invulnerability fits in a dodge animation like this, so a new player is ultimately going to have to rely on feel to getting of things, and these roles feel noticeably different. As for characterization or personality, there's pretty much none to speak of here, although a problem for Dark Souls than it would be for most franchises. For one thing, any game in which the player can create their own custom character has to keep player character animation a little more generic, so that the animations feel appropriate on anyone's custom creation. But also, Dark Souls player characters are literal zombies. Absence of humanity is part of the text here. It's a pretty clever way to reduce animation scope via world building, not unlike putting half of your characters in masks and helmets, so it's less noticeable that you aren't animating faces. FromSoft does this kind of thing a lot. These animations do have aesthetic problems, though. There is quite a lot of jank here. Awkward blends from one end to another, lots of clipping, and as with most animations in Dark Souls, the physicality and the weight just generally feel a little off. If I was judging these on visual appeal, I'd probably have to put these all the way down in D tier, but these animations are providing so much functional clarity in a game where dodging is so fundamentally important that I would say that it brings this up to at least a C. Next,
Data says, what's this YouTuber's name I
FromSoft has
forgot?
basically been iterating on this same animation
New frame plus.
since Demon Souls, so things are still looking pretty familiar in their current form. The pace of combat in these Souls games has accelerated over the years, though, so these roll animations are noticeably faster on average. This has made the distinction between equip load variants a little harder to notice, but that hefty thud on the heavy roll still ensures you are going to feel the difference once you cross that weight threshold. And these rolls do feel better to use than they did in Dark Souls. I think it's just the faster speed making it so that you're back in control quicker, no matter what your equip load is. As a player, it just feels a little better in your hands. And there have been some improvements to aesthetics as well. The physicality's feeling a little more natural, the seams between animations are smoother. There is still a lot of weird blending that'll happen at the end on certain weapon grips, but overall, these dodge rolls have definitely improved enough over time to earn a spot in B tier. But there is another FromSoft game we should definitely look at. This one diverges from the Dark Souls formula a bit. Outside of combat, we've still got the backstep and the forward roll. Equip load isn't really a thing this time, so those variants are gone. But when you are targeting an enemy, dodging will instead result in 4 directional dashes. And these are great. They feel good to use, and they have a noticeably different look from the rolls we see on Dark Souls nights. They have a different personality to them. Yes, these are still customizable characters, and their animation needs a certain degree of group-wide genericness to accommodate that, but as a group, hunters in Bloodborne are going to share some traits in common. Their speed, their aggression, and ferocity. Bloodborne hunters are all on that same road toward becoming beasts themselves, and the slightly unnatural burst of agility in these dashes feels appropriately bestial and aggressive, just a little beyond human.
Hydroclose
It's not
says go
quite
to
as
game.
polished looking as some of the
Yes.
other stuff we're going to be looking at today, but not only is it doing everything this game functionally needs, it's also contributing to Bloodborne's aesthetic and reinforcing its world building. Excellent dodge overall. A tier. But let's look at some Souls-likes outside the FromSoft catalog. I feel like this dodge is a perfect demonstration of why function
Golden Jada
matters
says
more
he
than
did make
appeal
him
in
for
gameplay
Guilty Gear
animation.
and Dragon
Like
Ball
Dark Souls,
Fighters.
this game has 4 directional dodge rolls that change based on your equip load. And to its credit, aesthetically speaking, I think these animations have more realistic feeling physicality than the dodges in any Dark Souls game. Lords of the Fallen was clearly going for a very heavy feel in general,
Golden
and
Jada
these
says
rolls
I
all
checked
sell that
already.
sense of armored heft. The camera wobble's a bit
Alright.
excessive, but I can feel the weight of the armor on this knight. The problem is that every version of this dodge feels sluggish and kind of awful to use. There is a reason why even the heaviest roll in Dark Souls 1 starts unrealistically fast. Even if the heavy roll takes a long time to finish, seeing your character's animation at least reflect your input quickly is what allows it to still feel responsive despite the cumbersome length of the full animation. And I don't know exactly where the iframes in this roll happen, but unless they're kicking in characters just starting to lean over, which would be very weird, then that increased delay between input and invulnerability taking effect just makes it even more challenging to intuit the proper timing for dodging an attack. All of the nice things I said about the body mechanic, the sense of weight are still true, but ultimately, those aesthetic wins don't count for much if that good-looking animation is making the gameplay experience feel worse. I am afraid it's the D tier for you. This, though, is an improvement. Look at how much quicker that roll starts. This dodge roll may not look nearly so realistically weighty, but it is so much more responsive and feels so much better to use. This reboot actually changes quite a lot about dodging. Now, when you're locked onto an enemy, your roll turns into some directional sidesteps, a little more similar to Bloodborne, and you can still double tap the button to do a full dodge roll that covers more distance. Now, are these dashes maybe a little agile feeling for an armored knight? Absolutely, yeah. But if that visual dissonance is necessary to improving the game feel, it does pain the animator in me. I will accept that trade-off for a better play experience every single time. Granted, there is still a little jank in there. A few minor jerks and pops in the character's orientation, especially when the dodges resolve. And I also don't love this lurching feeling on the camera with every roll, but overall, this is still a big enough improvement to earn a place in B tier, I think. Now, Lies of P is not subtle with its influences. There is a lot of Bloodborne DNA in this Puppet Boys animation, and honestly, that's fine. I mean, if you're gonna take inspiration from somewhere, then you should take it from something great. Now, function-wise, these feel solid enough. I like the addition of having the character do a roll after the sidestep if the player inputs dodge commands back-to-back. Aesthetically, though, there are some issues here. Like, I am to overlook the occasional sharp pop or awkward blend between animation. It's in service of making things feel more responsive. But stuff like this one-frame pop at the start of the forward roll really shouldn't be there. It adds this slight to the start of the roll every single time that makes the move just feel a little weird. And there's something about the weight on the roll itself that doesn't feel quite right to begin with. Also, really not a fan of how awkward these side hops look. Then again, to this game's credit, I do like how they've got multiple variants of this roll in order to adapt to different weapon grips, so there's not that awkward blend back to the neutral pose that you see in From's games all the time. But despite...
I've never really heard anyone talk bad or good about him. It just kind of came and went. I don't hear anything about it.
that legitimate improvement, I think this one's going in C tier. I just don't think this dodge achieves nearly as much as the ones that inspired it. Next. This is much more successful, I think. You've got the forward roll by default, and a variety of directional evasive moves when locked on, but each dodge also has a 3-part combo, where dodging multiple times in a row will result in a string of different animations chaining together. This is one of the only examples of a triple dodge combo animation that I've encountered anywhere, and I kinda love it. I do really wish basic dodge transitioned back to idle more naturally. The end of the animation doesn't seem to completely align with the posing and foot placement on the idle, resulting in a kind of weird transition at the end, which, to be fair, you'll probably never notice. And there is some weirdness at the start, too, especially when you dodge roll in a different direction than you were facing at the start.
Is he talking about
I have
the
no
noble
idea
car?
why the character's shifting this much to the side when I'm just telling him to forward and backward. It's kind of odd.
He's just talking
But
about
despite
dodge
those
rolling.
nitpicks, these dodge animations are pulling a lot of functional weight in a very demanding combat system, and looking really good doing it. This is an A-tier dodge at minimum. But before we move on from the Soulsy game, I do want to give some flowers to... because this is maybe the best looking classic dodge roll that we've looked at yet. It's not flashy or attention grabbing, it's just a really solid, natural looking roll. Comes out fast enough to feel responsive, while also having a better sense of weight and body mechanics than most of these Souls-like dodge rolls we've looked at. It resolves very cleanly, whether you're running or standing still. It looks good regardless of... It's got variations based on your equip load, including a very silly belly flop if you're encumbered. And the camera does these subtle distance adjustments throughout to give you the spatial awareness you need without drawing attention or disorienting you. It's just a really dodge roll. So good that they barely had to change a thing about these animations for Remnant 2. Now, sure, there can be some awkwardly sudden blends in tricky edge cases like this one, snapping in and out of the aiming state, but I would argue that in this case it's a game feel necessity. Further delaying your dodge roll so that the character can more naturally transition out of the aiming state, or delaying your ability to start aiming again after the roll just so the animated track is smoother. Like, both of those would probably feel a lot worse while playing. These are far from the flashiest dodges we are going to be looking at today, but I think it's just as important to recognize quality work that isn't trying to grab your attention. These dodge roll animations are A tier easily. But as long as we're looking at third-person shooters, here we have another game taking some
Helldivers, let's go. Oh man, I'd be spamming this way too much than I would.
clear inspiration from the animation and its peers, this time from Metal Gear Solid 5. And it's a pretty good aesthetic fit. Again, if you're gonna borrow from the best. Unlike the other dodges we've looked at so far, this one's more of a desperation move. 4 directional dives where your soldier hits the deck and lands in a prone state.
Moga Jada
If you
said
happen to make a bad jump and fall too far, you will ragdoll on landing and hurt yourself. This dodge suits the tone and character of Helldivers so well. It's got the air of military proficiency and combat utility, while also completely kind of grace and always looking just a little dorky. But it is so enthusiastically performed, which only makes it funnier when the heroic dive results in injury. That said, there are some polish issues in here that I don't think need to be. I can only so highly with this many rough edges, but this dodge still gets the important stuff right. Full duty. Okay, so we've looked at some examples of third-person shooters, but here's a question. What about first-person?
What, bro? You're not gonna put Kingdom Hearts in there? You're not gonna put Kingdom Hearts 1?
Morganar said TikTok has favorites mods.
TikTok has favorite mods. Well, you know. Well, they're not gonna put Kingdom Hearts 1 in there? The dodge roll? Come on, bro. Like, you know how much times I spammed the dodge roll in Kingdom Hearts 1 when fighting the giant snake thing in Aladdin? That shit was not fun. I hated fighting him. Jesus Christ.
There are some actions that are just really tricky to convey in first person, and dodging is one of them. You can't see most of your character's body, and there's only so much sudden movement you can throw on a camera without disorienting the player or possibly making them motion sick. So, what do? Retro's answer was as little as possible. When locked onto a target, Samus can do a little side harm. It is extremely minimal, basically just a
Moga
slight
Jada
lurching
says,
motion
"All I
on the
saw
helmet
in
overlay.
Jeff animation was
Samus's
pretty
animation
funny."
isn't so
Oh, yeah. Cute. Oh, I'm trying to get to do the next animation for this. Or, animatic.
the dodge nearly as much as the feel of quick movement and the sound cue. And I think it's the right choice for this game. I mean, you can only side hop when you're locked on to a target, which means that Samus's gun, only part of her body you can always see, has to keep pointing at your target, so you can't really move the arm much. You could bring her other arm into frame to help sell the move somehow, I guess, but why add visual noise you don't need? I'm actually going to put this in B tier because I respect the restraint on display. And for a great example of why I respect restraint in a first-person dodge, let's look at a game released 2 years later. This game, which is very obsessed with showing detailed first-person animations for everything, has 2 kinds of directional dodge, a back handspring and rolls to either side.
What game is this?
This is not an enjoyable first-person play experience. These dodges are slow, they are disorienting, they're a little after a while, and they're just not pleasant to use or look at in
Bro,
just
what is
about
this
any
game?
way. Extremely D-tier dodge. This is exactly the reason why most first-person games with a dodging maneuver of some sort try to keep it simple. Maybe do a little extra camera motion, maybe there'll be some screen effects to emphasize the move. Sometimes there'll be some more noticeable animation on the arms, but they're mostly letting the rapid change in position speak for itself. But there are some first-person games which take a different approach.
What game was that? I don't know what the fuck. Oh, Destiny?
All of Destiny 2's classes have some unique traversal and evasive abilities, but the Hunter's is the one that's specifically called a dodge, so let's focus on that one. There are multiple versions of this ability, each with its own utility and look, and each with 4 directional variants. And the reason you can see all of them is because the game briefly switches you to a third-person view for it. Now, Destiny is hardly the first game to attempt this. The Halo series alone has experimented with this dodge multiple times, but I am still not sure how I feel about it. On the one hand, switching to third person does actually let the player see the cool dodge ability they've equipped. But then again, it's pretty hard to make suddenly lurching from first person and back in the span of 1 second not feel a little disorienting. But then again, Bungie is really good at game feel. They've managed to make this feel about as good as it possibly can, and the animations themselves are quite good. Each version of the dodge feels distinct. They all showcase their agility really well. There is a little polish issue that sometimes happens where the return to first person has the gun already raised for a couple of frames when it shouldn't be. Probably belongs around B tier, but even that feels like an achievement to me. I'm honestly very impressed they made this approach to first person dodging look and feel as good as it does. Alright, let's switch it up. Let's look at some 2D games for a bit. This dodge baffles me. I have no idea what is supposed to be happening in backstep animation. Because, okay, so the pose on the first frame is conveying forward motion, which is the exact opposite of what's actually happening. Then he's backwards somehow, and then the dodge resolves with Alucard's standard stopping animation, which always plays whenever you come to a stop. But the stop animation pose has
I couldn't figure out what this was, but it was Castlevania for a split second. But yeah, it's Castlevania.
him leaning backward, because that settle's usually intended to show a halt to forward motion, except he's going back this time. He looks like he should be falling over right now. And like, I know he's a supernatural character, and I can absolutely roll with a supernatural character having uncanny realistic movement. That's okay.
Emoji,
But I
chef's kiss, sparkles emoji, pinch
Jolly
fingers
Answer
emoji.
says reminds me of the way the old Sonic games were. The gameplay was a pain.
Just found out that the alien that says the line is named something like that. This color palette and overall, this piece is just kiss. I don't know about that one.
I can't even really tell exactly what this animation's even going for. I'm just flummoxed. Hang on, let me look at this move in a sequel and understand what's happening here. Okay, so this is how this backdash looks in Aria of Sorrow, and this is much better. It still evokes that nebulous idea we saw in Symphony, but this actually reads as a backwards evasive move, and yet feels balanced and in control throughout. Aria, you get a B. Symphony, I love you, but this dodge is going in D tier. Half of this genre is named after you. Could you please set a better example for the kids? I've talked in a previous video about how much heavy lifting the effects animation does in Hollow Knight, and this dodge is another great example. Your Bug Knight's animation is pretty simple, but that burst of wind behind you adds so much power and clarity to the move. And then when you get the Shade Cloak, which adds iframes to your dodge, the effects put in even more work to communicate that, adding that little particle signal to let you know when your invulnerability dash has recharged again. It's a great touch. If the game only had this default dodge, I'd probably give it a B, but the added clarity and visual flair on the Shade Cloak bumps it up a grade for me. A tier. But there is another hand-drawn side-scrolling that I think has this one beat. The animation in this game is so darned good, and this dash is a great demonstration of that. It is quick and responsive, the effects emphasize everything they need to, and the smear frame effect in transit not only looks gorgeous, but also subtly conveys which part of the dash you're invulnerable for. This is everything that is already great about the dash in Hollow Knight, with a little extra style sprinkled on top.
I should have
It is a very fast animation, which makes it slightly harder to track on screen, but that certainly doesn't make you feel any less in control of it when you're playing. This dash looks good, it feels great, into the S tier you go. This game's developers literally named their studio Dodge Roll, and that would have been real embarrassing if this dodge wasn't so darn good.
Oh no! We got ourselves some gungeon. Enter the gungeon.
Mocha Jada says sorry for the confusion.
That's fine. This game is fun. Like really, really fun. Yeah, bro.
Animation has such appealing texture to it. The way it lingers in that airborne dive before hitting the ground, quickly rolling you back onto your feet. But on top of just looking good, that hang time conveys so much functional information. The verticality literally shows you where your iframes are. If you are airborne, then you're above the bullets. And since this dodge also functions as a jump for crossing gaps, that hang time is
the only thing, the cardinal sin to this game is that it's not online. Damn, if it was only have online co-op, this game would be god tier.
Mocha Jada says I know I played at absolute masterpiece.
Nar said LMFAO.
I
The
love
stank
this
eye my
game.
dog just gave me. I can't blame him. I was taking feet pics of his Tobine's face with tears of joy emoji.
Yeah, I won't blame him. But yeah, this game is the sequel is ass. I don't know what happened, but the sequel went ass. I don't know what happened. But yeah, overall, this game is awesome. This game is literally a 10 out of 10 for me. It's great when you play in co-op. It makes things a lot more interesting. You have more chances to live longer, but you also have chances to fuck up because so much is happening on the screen. So yeah, this game is amazing. I would recommend this to anyone. 10 out of 10. It's up there with AAA type games. Like if you like roguelike, is roguelike or roguelike? I can never know which one's the right word. But if you like roguelike generated like games that has like secret mystery and all that stuff, and it's really fun. Like anyone can play it. It's no crafting, no nothing like that. It's just literally you shoot. It's a bullet hell game. So if you like bullet hell games, this is the game for you.
Actually pulling functional double duty.
And I'm not gonna lie, this game can be an asshole. Serious, it can be really evil. Like it can put you in a situation where you get a good run, and then there'll be one minute you get like horrible weapons, like the most horrible weapons, and it will put you in situations where you know cannot win, that you have to just literally restart. This game is
Jada
amazing.
says, was it called Exit the Gungeon?
It's called Enter. It's called Enter the Gungeon. Game is amazing. I will recommend this game to anyone. You can play with your friends on the couch. I don't know what's with Devolver and co-op games that not being online, which I don't think that would be hard for them to do, which is just co-op. But I know having multiplayer servers is probably expensive. That's probably what that is. But like, damn, this game would be god tier. Same thing with what's that game called?
Jada says the sequel, not the first one.
No, the first one. The second one's ass. The sequel's ass. It's horrible. The second one is horrible. It does everything opposite from the first one's the best one out of all of them. And I don't know what's with Devolver's problem with the idea of putting co-op and not having multiplayer. Because no one these days really sits next to each other to play a video game unless it's like your sibling or something. Most people play online, so I don't know why they don't ever bother just putting games online. But that probably costs money to have like multiplayer servers, so that might be it. But pointless to even put them in there half the time. So, especially with Cult of the Lamb, like my mod thought it was online. Like I kept trying to explain to her like it's not online. The game, it comes off as it is. It's just local play. You have to literally sit next to me to play the game. It's like, how much more fun would it have been if they had like multiplayer in the sense of co-op, and then you can go to your other friends like what do you call it, their own like camp. That would be kind of cool. See how their camp looks compared to yours and stuff, and attend their like church meetings or whatever the hell. That would be fun.
Showing you exactly jump covers. The dust cloud effects emphasize the start and end of that hang time and velocity even more, and if you dodge roll at an unflipped table, your little guy just does a slide over it instead.
Yeah,
and
that's
that
cute.
rules. What a good little touch.
That is cute.
There isn't a lot of on
There's
this one.
so many guns from other games. There's a bunch of references. There's an Overwatch one.
Jada says you would enjoy Dragon Ball Fighters and Sparking Zero. They're both online games.
I already played them already. I played the stream already. But like, that's crazy.
Admittedly, which is a little bit of a shame, given it's such a good opportunity to give these different playable characters personality. But then there is something functionally nice about this crucial gameplay mechanic, looking and feeling consistent no matter which character you've picked, so it never feels unfamiliar. I think I've got another winner with this one. It feels great, it communicates everything you need, and it even...
My thoughts on them, they're pretty good games. Like, it's both for hardcore and casual players degree, because they simplified they did like the Overwatch route of things, like they simplified the buttons, but they also made it just good enough for it to be like well in depth depending on how you play. I kind of miss the old days where in the first Budokai games where you have to actually remember like certain combinations. But I understand why they went that route. They went down the route they did in the Tenkaichi games.
Jada says, "Who's your main?"
When it comes to Dragon Ball Fighter Z, I think it was Goku Black, Bardock, and I hate fighting Broly, that asshole. I hate fighting him in both games because he always has those shields over him. That's just a pain in the ass. I used to play with Android 21, but that just kind of died off. But I played mainly like Goku, Black, Bardock, and Hit.
throws in some
And sometimes Trunks once in a while.
extra appeal on top. Good news, Dodge Roll. You're allowed to keep your studio name.
In Sparking Zero, I just kind of play. Who do I play? Like, who I used to play as in Sparking Zero? I think it was just like. I think it was Gohan, Ultimate Gohan, and some other character. I forgot. I think it was just. Yeah, I don't like playing fusions. They're just too overpowered to the point. Just kind of spam moves.
There's something about the feel of this dodge roll that's just a little mushy, and in a way to pin down.
Moonlighter, let's go!
I think it's that there's just not a big enough...
This game is amazing, but it also has its share of glitches. This game, oh my god. I played this game back in the day when I used to just do gaming on my other channel. Oh my god. I haven't gotten so frustrated playing a game when sometimes when the game wants to screw off, it would literally screw off. Like, you don't have to do much of anything. You're not like spamming or doing anything that breaks the game. Sometimes the game just has glitches. Like you go into a dungeon or something, and then you're just playing whatever. Go to the next dungeon, and then things just glitch out, and things are just not working properly, and then it just kind of freezes. This game had its problems, but the animation was amazing though.
Enough visual change at the start of the roll to catch your eye, which makes the dodge more sluggish than it actually is. Like, if we just step through this dodge one frame at a time, I really like each frame in isolation, but you see how on the very first frame of the dodge, the character's head stays almost perfectly in place, and the rest of his body kicks out. That's kind of unfortunate, because this white hair is the most eye-catching element on the character, and that element doesn't noticeably move until a few frames into the dodge. And then the dodge roll resolves very quickly at the end, which is good for getting you back in control. The spacing on that eye-catching white hair is just a little too spread out in those final frames. It feels like he's getting back to a standing position too sharply, especially for how big and heavy that bag looks. I do appreciate the dust clouds at the end, but they're just not noticeably helpful once combat starts. I think this one's gotta go in D tier. But we're on the subject of games with a more top-down perspective. This game is another great example of how far you can get on animation alone. The dodge is fairly simple. You can tap the button to do a regular dash, or hold it to charge a longer distance dash. The dodge itself happens extremely fast, but you've got this little light trail effect for extra clarity, giving you everything you visualize your character's path as they zip across the screen. It's responsive, it's quick, This dodge animation does everything you need. Aesthetically though, as with a lot of Fury's animations, this dodge really benefits from being too fast and small to see in detail, because if you do actually start looking close, there's not a lot of polish or appeal here. The very first frame of the dodge pops your character to a standing idle pose, which almost creates the feel of an anticipation. Almost feels like the character coiling up before launching forward. Almost. And then the dash pose always align with your actual traveling direction. And the spinning in place that happens while you charge your dash looks kinda goofy. I've got to put this in C tier for all of the visual shortcomings, but I think it's worth noting how none of these issues stop the dodge from doing what it needs to in game. And that, again, is why function ultimately matters more than appeal. For a more effective example of a dash dodge on an action game character who is very screen, let's look at... Again, this one's just a very simple directional dash, although it can be upgraded for multiple and also modified with a variety of god powers. Function-wise, this feels great. Very responsive, very clear. That bright flash trail effect makes it easy to see your direction and your path, even in the thick of chaotic combat. And aesthetically, the Prius is pretty nice, even if you can't really see much of it behind that bright trail. And I do really love how each of the godly upgrades you can get alters the look of that effects trail in various ways. Part of me does kind of wish that the flash didn't begin with this long of a trail on frame 1. Like, I wonder how it would feel if it started a little shorter and then extended length by frame 2 or 3. But then again, that big bright shape happening immediately on button press is kind of what makes the feedback for your inputs so immediately visible, and that clarity is so important. This is a real solid dodge. I'm gonna say... next. And here is another incarnation of the tiny action game character dash dodge. I do think it's smart of them to have implemented this prominent red line trail to show the path of your dodge more clearly. As much as I like the flavor of the ghost effect trailing behind you, I'm not sure it would be able to hide that clarity otherwise. If anything, the ghost trail kind of reduces clarity somewhat by frequently muddying the silhouette on your character. Even with that red line trail, it's not quite as easy to visually track your character's path as in Hades or Fury, especially in the environments that have more red coloring already. To be honest, this is kind of selling me more and more on Zagreus's big bright flash trail on frame 1. It's just so much better at catching your eye. I like the flavor on this one a lot, but I think it's going to have to live in C tier.
Morgan said,
It is worth noting that Diablo 3 didn't originally have a dodge roll. This edition was exclusive to the console ports. But as much as I do enjoy playing Diablo on a controller, and as much as I like the idea of this franchise having a dodge mechanic on paper, I am not a fan of these dodges in practice. The directional roll animations themselves look pretty bland, even unpolished in places. They resolve very abruptly, which makes them feel weightless, and every class appears to use mostly the same, or at least very similar, roll animations. They do each have a unique backward dodge, which is better than nothing, I guess, but it still feels like a real missed opportunity given the very different physicality these classes each have. And because these dodges cover so little distance, they always feel kind of unsatisfying to use. Like, I am sure that they are helping me to get out of the way of hazards at least a little bit, but it's pretty hard to tell sometimes. I can definitely understand the designers not wanting to diverge too radically from the game's established design by giving console players an extremely effective dodge mechanic that the PC players don't have, but especially for a Blizzard game, these animations neither look nor feel all that great. Surprisingly D-tier. But interestingly, this console exclusive feature was made standard across all versions in the sequel. So how did that turn out? Well, the directional variants have been replaced with just a single forward dodge animation, but that's actually fine because the variety is now happening in much more interesting places. For example, I'm seeing a lot more variation between the dodge animations for different classes this time, and that's great. The more unique you can make each Diablo class feel in motion, the better. Plus, because dodging has been more fully incorporated into the combat design this time, there's even gear that can modify how your dodge looks and functions in combat, which is real. And yet, it does still kind of surprise me how, in a game with this much polish, these dodges still don't feel all that great. I mean, the themselves are obviously much better than anything we saw in the previous game, but something still feels off in the implementation. Framing through these, there are some odds between the character and camera movement that I think might be causing it. I've had a hard time pinning exactly what's going on in here, in part because some of these hitches seem to have been actually fixed in the course of me making this video, but there is still definitely something weird going on in there. And it's probably not helping that these dodges still don't cover that satisfying a distance, and now have a lengthy cooldown which limits how frequently you can use them. Like, I'm not trying to claim these are the most important load-bearing animations for a Diablo game, but especially when you consider how satisfying your character's abilities tend to feel in these games, these dodges, by comparison, are feeling pretty C-tier to me. Next. Now, much as I do really adore the way this game looks, its character animation is pretty unpolished across the board, and you can really dodge roll. It feels decent to use, which is important, and it does look fine enough so long as you're just rolling forward, but once you lock onto an enemy and start rolling around, things do start getting a lot jankier. Granted, animating a dodge roll which needs to start and the character facing their target regardless of roll direction is a lot easier said than done. Even so, this is a little wonky looking. To this one's credit though, I do love how this dodge roll's little dust trail effect contributes to gameplay clarity by subtly signaling where your iframes are. Plus, this fancy upgraded dodge you get later manages to sidestep the janky rolling problem entirely by just replacing it with a zippy teleport. Still, I don't think I can justify anything higher than C tier for this one. Next. Hedgehog, we meet again. Now, dodging takes a few different forms in Frontiers depending on context, so let's go one by one. When you're running, we've got this little sidestep for avoiding hazards without changing your run direction. 3D size one for ages, and it's pretty simple as animations go, but solid. I like it. When standing still, your dodge turns into these little cartwheels, which I like less. You're probably only ever going to use these during minigames, but they look ridiculous and not...
Yeah,
fortunately...
it looks too stiff. The anticipation looks like ass. The landing looks like... So it just looks like it just kind of happens. There's no sense of, like I said, anticipation at all. It just kind of happens, and it just feels very something. It doesn't feel right. It feels weird.
Once you're in combat and locked onto something, your dodge becomes a roll, or sometimes a little evasive twirl, depending on context, and these much better. I mean, the actual animations themselves are kind of plain, and half the time Sonic's roll doesn't even match the direction he's moving, but he's usually going to be too small in frame and moving too fast to see that. The most you're likely to actually see, decelerating slide that happens at the end, which looks much better. And more importantly, reacting to an incoming attack and whipping around behind the enemy to counter is legitimately good. Now, between the jank and the cartwheels, I'd say this probably still belongs in C tier, but freeform 3D Sonic movement winning a feel victory is a pretty big win, I think. Way to go, buddy. Next. You will unlock a
Kingdom
lot of
Hearts, let's
evasive options for
go!
Sora over the
Okay! Okay, now we're talking. Like, when you're gonna get the Kingdom Hearts? Let's go.
I've heard music of the Kingdom of the Hearts.
course of this game, each of which also has unique traversally. You've got a dodge roll.
No, not Kingdom Hearts 2. I'll go with Kingdom Hearts 1. That dodge roll is crispy.
Crispy.
So crispy. It's so crispy. It's crispy as hell. Like, you can't tell me. Dodge roll Kingdom Hearts 1 Sora is way better than dodge roll Kingdom Hearts 2. I'm just being honest. It feels more grounded, especially if you're playing Aladdin and that fighting between that boss and that snake thing. Oh my god, I hated him.
You've got a quick step with bonkers range. You've got an aerial dodge. You've even got some special reaction events against specific enemies, which will reposition you out of harm's way when they attack. All of these look great, especially for a game released almost 20 years ago, and stringing these moves together in creative ways to avoid enemies, or even just to get on, still feels excellent now. And I just love how aesthetically unique these animations look. They are so well suited to a Kingdom Hearts protagonist, threading that needle between Disney and Final Fantasy's animation styles in such a way that movement never looks out of place, no matter which character he's standing next to. Of course, as you would expect to see in gameplay animation from the PS2 era, there are quite pops between animations and imperfect blends, but a lot of those sudden interruptions are in service of maintaining responsive control. For all of the appreciation that Kingdom Hearts cinematics have gotten for replicating Disney scenes, its game doesn't get nearly the amount of praise it deserves. And it should, because this is S tier. Next.
Did anyone else feel like Kingdom Hearts 3 when it came to the Elsa world felt janky as hell? Or is it just me? I feel like probably it's just me. I feel like in the Kingdom Hearts 3, when you go to like the Frozen, for some odd reason, when they get to the point when she's about to sing and all that shit, it feels like that whole section was janky as hell. You know
Morgan
what?
R said, you know what I'm finding challenging to draw? A person putting / taking off a coat in formal dress attire. I should practice that.
Yes, let's do that.
Now, you would think that adding modern technical to Kingdom Hearts 2's dodging would guarantee a spot in S tier, but I'm not so sure it does. The variety of dodges are a little different this time around, which is fine. You missed that quick step, but now we've got some fancy evasive warps attached to the unique weapon forms, and the level of polish is definitely higher. All of those little pops between animations have been sanded down a lot, and without losing any responsiveness. And yet, something about these feels slightly worse, and it's not easy to pin down exactly why. Now, maybe it's not even an animation problem. Maybe it's simply that the spaces and the arenas in Kingdom Hearts 3 are so much larger, which makes the dodging option feel like they're covering less distance.
Yes, I said that. I said this no more like I think 2 weeks ago. Something about the game being so huge, less epic. Which is weird, because, like, you kind of think bigger is better, but for some reason, it kind of does the opposite in this game. It feels like enemies seem smaller by comparison of the area. Like, if you compare Kingdom Hearts 1, like, when you're in Traverse Town fighting, like, Heartless, and then you're in Kingdom Hearts 3 in, like, say, Traverse Town, or even in Hercules World, characters feels extremely small. And, like, even weaker than before. That didn't feel stronger. Because there's a significant difference between that Heartless that was there in Kingdom Hearts 3 and compared to Kingdom Hearts 1. It's like they downgraded them, because when you stand next to them in Kingdom Hearts 1, they felt much in size and in weight and in, like, when they were like swing a punch or they do that that assault move when they at you full force with their stomach. it felt huge and it felt like a real hit. Now they're just kind of like toys. I don't know if that's the right word.
Morgan R said the animations look clean, crisp, satisfying. But from what I'm seeing, the environment itself doesn't support the movements.
Yeah.
It really needs to all come together.
Yep. That's where the problem lays.
I'm still honestly not sure. Regardless, these are very, very good dodges, but they're not quite as big an improvement as I'd have liked to see, which really is more a testament to how darned good Kingdom Hearts 2 is. Still definitely A tier, though. Moving on. There are only 2 dodges here to look at, a forward roll and a backflip.
I remember they promoted this game, and this game kind of just went on the wayside. I thought, to be honest, when I first saw this, I didn't think it was a game. I thought it was like a movie. I thought and was convinced it was a movie, and people called it a game. I thought it was literally a movie, and then I figured out it was a game. I'm like, oh, it's a game. Wow, it looks like a movie. Does it play well? And then you don't hear anyone talk about it. It's probably really generic. It's probably not all that fun to play. Or maybe it's fun to play, but it's not all that, like, different. So it was like, meh.
But the animations themselves look quite excellent. Great posing, great arcs. I love the subtle squash and stretch happening in here, and the way they even sneakily bend the staff to reflect the arc of her dive, just to tie everything together. Super nice. They've really nailed that Pixar aesthetic of constrained exaggeration, which you feel more than you see. And the transition back to standing and running looks really nice too. Granted, that pop into a crouch at the animation is very sharp, especially for a character this close to camera, but I think that sharpness is beneficial for game feel in this case. And it does allow the animators just a little time to squeeze in a few frames of anticipation. I do kind of wish we had some more directional variants on this roll for scenarios where you're locked on or aiming or whatever. Considering this is the work of a relatively small crew, I can respect the choice to simplify. Really, it's looking overall. Solid A tier. Next up, wait, hang on, there's a dodge in?
Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
What do you know? 4 directional variants, slow motion on a perfect dodge. This looks pretty good. I do really love that bouncy look. It feels exactly right for Kirby. And that perfect dodge is very satisfying when you time it right. That said, it can be just a little unpredictable. I've had figuring out why the perfect dodge does work with some enemies and hazards, but not with others. The inconsistency in the perfect dodge slowdown thing does kind of keep it from being quite as great as it otherwise would. Still a very friend-shaped dodge, though. So a couple of folks said Paper Mario and the 1,000-Year Door for this video, and I will say, I do like your impulse to recommend a dodge from an RPG rather than an action title. The Paper Mario games do have a mechanic for reducing damage with perfectly timed button presses, and in this one your enemies can also miss their attacks, and they've each got their own fun reactions to doing so. Unfortunately, I don't think that this qualifies as a dodge animation for our purposes, because your actual player character, Mario, does not have a dodge animation in either of these scenarios, but I'll tell you which Mario RPG series we can look at. Unlike Paper Mario, dodging is a core mechanic here. In battle, the brothers can jump at precise times to avoid attacks. Time this jump very well, and it might even result in a counterattack. Or sometimes, you need to dodge by specifically not jumping. There's also a hammer version of this, which you can use in a similar way, but at that point the mechanic's starting to feel a bit more like a parry, so let's just stick to the jumps. I like this mechanic a lot. Every enemy comes at you with different attack patterns, which you have to react to in specific ways to avoid damage, and the better you get at learning these patterns, the better this system feels. Jumping animations themselves are fine. The brothers' personalities do come through in their posing, and I like that a lot, but the real star of the show here is always the animation on the enemy you're dodging. This mechanic rules, and these dodges do everything that they functionally need to, but I'd say the animation on Mario and Luigi themselves probably belongs around C tier. But speaking of dodges in turn-based RPGs, I'm just gonna arbitrarily go with the Blazing Blade here, but feel free to mentally swap in a GBA Fire Emblem of your choosing. Now these dodges work very differently from the Mario and Luigi in that they are not initiated by the player. In this case, you've already made your tactical choices, and now you're just seeing how the dice rolls fall. So these animations are simply a dramatic visual presentation of an outcome where your attacker fails to land a hit. And they are great. All of your unit types have their own little dodging motion, which adds an extra appeal and contrast between units. Of course, these dodges are hardly the easiest or even the most visually interesting unique animations in these games, but it's still a nice little additive extra in a place that didn't require it. Having dodge animation of your little units at all in this genre, in this era, is already going above and beyond, and I think that deserves at least a B.
Oh my god, dude, what the...
But let's see how fires are looking nowadays. Functionally, these are filling the exact same role that we saw in the earlier games, only now in 3D with much more flair and technical sophistication. And they continue to look very nice. On top of having unique dodge animations, all your different units now have multiple dodge and counter animations to work with, and they tend to chain together with attacks and animations very nicely. They really help to make these turn-based tactical clashes more visually dynamic and exciting. Part of why the Fire Emblem team has achieved these results for so long is that, as game animation goes, this kind of gameplay is relatively simple to depict. Because there's no direct player input involved in the fight itself, the animators and the programmers have full control of presentation, without having to account for any unpredictable factors a player input might introduce. It's about as close to a cutscene as gameplay animation can get, kind of like an all-out attack in a Persona game. I think they've achieved some very effective results here. Let's call this one A tier. Next up... You know, I did not specify that the player character could not be a spaceship. That being said, functionally speaking, the barrel roll's not so much an evasive move as a block reflect incoming fire, so I don't think we can reasonably count this one. But here's a third-person vehicle dodge we can look at, though. One's an interesting case because your dodge animation has to both adapt to and reflect mech customization choices. So not only do your four directional and mid-air dodge have to look right on all of the different leg...
Oh, I didn't get to look at it yet. I've been too busy trying to get this done. We're at the end. I just want to get it done. I will definitely, but like, I have not yet. I've just been trying to get this done. This thing has been too much of a character design nightmare. Let me see if you're making everything make sense.
Configure the distance they cover, and their speed can also vary significantly. The animation on your mech itself is pretty simple, nothing too mind-blowing. The real thing selling these is the effects and the camera, emphasizing the sheer sense of speed as this mech blasts across the screen. And all the extra little moving parts on your mech body, the flame spouts, the smoke, the heat vents, all of them help to sell the power to move these giant machines around so quickly. Which is not to say that they completely succeed in conveying the heft of these things through animation. This kind of acceleration and mobility just don't feel like a three-story metal Hulk, I'm sorry. But I'm not sure that's even possible to sell in a mech game with combat designs to move this fast. I think they've done about as well as anyone could hope to on that front, and dodging around in this feels great. So, A tier. But alright, let's go back to some third-person action games for a bit, because we got a lot of them. This is definitely one of the more robust dodge animation systems on this list, but that's not going to surprise anybody who's played Absolver before. You've got some directional dodges, left, right, high, and low, but those directionals also have to account for which of your four stances your character is in at any given time. And one of the classes has directional sidesteps on top of all that, so there's a lot going on here. Visually, these animations are a little rough around the edges, lots of weightless movements, some unnatural feeling blends between animations. It's exactly what I would expect to see from an indie team tackling an animation system with this kind of complexity, though, and I think it's to their credit that none of these aesthetic issues negatively impact play, or the player's sense of control. Being able to read your opponent's animation is vital for this game to even work, and I think these dodges manage to be distinct and provide that necessary clarity. Plus, that little phantom effect that pops up when you successfully dodge out of the way of an attack is a real nice touch. It's not the prettiest looking, but I gotta give credit to a smaller team for functionally executing on such an ambitious 3D fighting dodge system. B tier. Next. Another robust martial arts system from the same team who made Absolver, but one that is much simpler on the player control side of things. You've got some directional dashes, mostly for repositioning or dodging larger threats, but you can also do these smaller little dodges by holding block and tapping the stick in various directions to evade most of the standard attacks you're going to run into while remaining in your current position. The animation's definitely more polished this time, and I do very much like their choice to have the core evasive mechanic involve these smaller leans, ducks, and hops, rather than the bigger sidesteps. It feels much more true to actual martial arts technique, and it helps to make this game's combat much more closely resemble the action you would see in a martial arts film, which this game is very clearly striving for. Now, is some of the animation jank still there in places? Sure. And having the player's core evasive option be these smaller movements does inherently result in a slight loss in clarity, I think. Having your dodge animations be this contained makes the visual distinction between dodging and just blocking a little bit harder to see in the thick of a fight, and I think that makes it just slightly harder to learn the feel for proper evasion timing. I love seeing the clear growth in Slow Clap's capabilities since their previous game, but I would say that this dodge animation is still probably just B tier overall. Meanwhile, on the opposite end of the complexity spectrum, dead simple dodge animation, but still very good. Your left and right sidesteps happen quickly, but not so quickly that Mac's superhumanly fast. The distance that Mac covers jumping to the side makes it visually clear when you are outside that danger zone in front of your opponent, and the timing on that window of invulnerability is pretty easy to intuit right away just by looking. And the pose is pretty strong as well, especially given the hardware this is running on. Yeah, it's a primitive game and a dead simple mechanic, but it is achieving everything that it needs to with aplomb and looks darn good for its time. I am very comfortable letting this live in B tier. My very first video on this channel was how great the animation in this game is, so I hope it's not going to come as some surprise to hear that this dodge animation is very good. It is clear that a great deal of effort was spent to capture the feel of the original game's dodge. The animation's timing is very close to the original. It is just as responsive, it is just as clear. In fact, I'd say its clarity is considerably better than before. Mac's dodge now brings him so much further to either screen, and the camera moving with Mac not only emphasizes that evasive maneuver, but also provides a better sense of the three-dimensional space between fighters, makes it even easier to see the distance you've created between Mac and the incoming attack. And while posing is good throughout, his animation is kept simple enough that it doesn't compete for visual attention with the opponent you're still supposed to be carefully watching. I can't believe this game still hasn't been put to Switch. Easily an A-tier dodge. Next. Wait, no. I am not analyzing the dodge on 89 different characters. You cannot make me. Here, tell you what, I will let the game choose. Works for me. Honestly, choosing 4 random fighters is kind of perfect for showing off what Smash animation does so well. Because functionally, these dodges are basically identical. You've got a forward roll, which ends facing the opposite direction, a backward roll, which ends facing the direction it started, an air dodge, which provides a brief moment of invulnerability while airborne, and an on-the-spot dodge if you want to evade without moving. Functionally identical, but these same moves look different on all 4 of these characters. Each fighter is performing this action in a way that feels right for them. Diddy's doing his little monkey rolls, Zero Suit Samus is darting around all nimble and agile, Ganondorf has this little side hop and tumble that feel appropriately heavier on his more powerful frame, and Mr. Game & Watch is doing his bizarre thing. But none of these flavor differences between the characters compromise on function. All of these dodges are quick and responsive, and the flashing and the dust cloud effects ensure that you can always see the move happening, even when the camera is zoomed way out and everything is chaos. Smash just always nails this functional stuff so well. I have talked about Smash Bros. Animation before in previous videos if you want to hear more about this stuff, but yeah, this is quality work. A tier. I'm kind of torn on this one. One of this MOBA's biggest selling points in the day was its exaggerated animation style, and I still love that. I love how much contrast there is between these heroes and the ways
I know this game kind of got revived, but I don't think it's gonna survive.
They each move. There is lots of good here, at least in terms of appeal and personality. Functionally, I think we've got some issues in the clarity department. You see, one potential risk to giving every character their own unique animation for shared gameplay verb like dodging is that those unique animations aren't going to provide any kind of shared visual language which makes the move easy to immediately identify. This is why many games create some new shared visual element to serve that purpose instead, often in the form of effects. Like, Smash was a perfect example. All of those characters we were looking at before have unique animations, right? But they all share that shield bubble, those same flashes and dust cloud elements, which clearly and consistently distinguish all of these different animations as being dodges, even in the thick of combat. Now, is this a pretty brute force sledgehammer solution to the problem? Bit, but absolutely worthwhile if it's going to improve the game feel and clarity in a competitive action title. Gigantic does have some similar dust clouds and speed lines contributing to these dodge animations, but they are not nearly visible enough to provide that. It doesn't help that some of these animations, entertaining though they might be, don't read especially clearly as dodging, at least not from this angle. I still love the amount of personality here, and I would love to see more games embrace this kind of exaggerated anime, but visual clarity is so important for any competitive game this chaotic, and animations just aren't providing that on their own. Let's say...
Beanbag says she looks great, Teach.
Yeah.
This dodge is pretty simple, just a forward dash leading into a sprint, but it looks nice. Of course, this dash animation is very clearly taking heavy inspiration from another game's dodge, which were later, but that's fine because, as I have already said, if you're gonna borrow from the best. Functionally, I do think this one's a bit of a mixed bag though. As the start of a sprint, this animation feels pretty great, but when used as a means to dodge incoming attacks, the slightly delayed acceleration and minimal visual feedback on a successful evade leave it feel a little underwhelming. But the major bummer for me with this one is that so many of the game's playable characters share basically the same dash animation. Now, in fairness, sharing some animations across a cast this huge makes a lot of practical sense. But those basic animations like dashing, running, and jumping, the kinds of animations the player is going to be constantly seeing, those are such huge opportunities for creating noticeable contrast between characters, emphasizing their unique traits.
I'm done. I'm gonna run to the bathroom, but I'm gonna let this still, so I'll be right back. I guess I'll do a quick AnimeArt or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Oh my god, that was a lot. Oh my god.
Beanbag says victory.
Victory! 1 second, guys. Let me just curve this up so you guys can see that. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna hear it from outside. I'll be right back.
And appeal. And especially for a game this character-focused, it is kind of a shame seeing this particular opportunity overlooked so often. There is so much lovely combat animation in Genshin Impact, but as dodge animations go, I don't think I can put this one much higher than C tier.
Morgan R said,
but as we're looking at open-world action gacha games,
hard eyes emoji.
Again, the influences on this one are not subtle, but where Genshin's dodge kind of feels like a tool that's being made to pull double duty, the combat utility of this dodge feels much more. In addition to the forward dash, we've also got a backstep, a forward and backward air dodge, and special animation for perfectly timed dodges, which can then counterattack, or even a character switching counterattack, which I love. Those are so cool. I do not love the look of this backstep slide. It kind of looks like they're being pulled by an external force, but in a way that just looks kind of awkward. And much like Genshin Impact, these same dodge animations are shared across a bunch of characters, and this is a bit of a bummer. There are some occasional exceptions to this, and those exceptions are great. It just makes me wish there were more of them. Regardless, this set of dodge animations is definitely in terms of clarity and game feel, so I would say that it earns a spot in B tier. Fortunately, there's another game in the gacha action space with dodging that has both of these soundly beat, and that is... Now this is what I am talking about. Everything about this evasion animation system is firing on all cylinders. You've got a backstep dodge, you've got the forward dodge that transitions into a sprint, and if you time it just right, you will get the perfect dodge, granting you a window for a counterattack. Alternatively, you could do a perfectly timed character swap instead of dodging to perform an even looking perfect assist, which might take the form of a dodge or a block depending on context, but whatever, I say it counts. Every one of these evasive maneuvers feels and precise and so satisfying. As much as the camera motion and abundance of particles and screen effects are working to make the action look more stylish and exciting, they are also helping a ton with clarity, framing the action just so, clear and consistent visual feedback cues, emphasizing all of the information you need below the action. And best of all, on top of all that, every one of these characters has their own set of these animations built to emphasize their unique physicality and personality. This is what Genshin and Wuthering Waves are missing out on. Look at how these dodges evolve back into each character's idol, not just cleanly, but with added personality flourishes. The polish and the style on these are through the roof. If this doesn't belong in S tier, then I have no idea what does. Next.
That was,
Here we have another very strong argument for why is what ultimately matters.
My god, that was a lot.
The animation on the character is pretty underwhelming here.
I don't mean to be this way, but as great as this was, I would have made a lot of changes to this character design. But I'm not allowed to actually criticize this. But I would have made a bunch of changes to this for this to be a lot more appealing. I think it's way too much happening. Color-wise, saturation-wise, item-wise, a lot of things are happening here, but I can't go any more further with that, but I would redesign this if I could, but I was not allowed. So, I would just say, the only thing I would say is that we need something called less is more. More, that's what you need. It doesn't need all this, but that's it. That's all I'm going to say for now. There's a lot.
Her pose is nice, but she pretty much just blends into that pose, freezes in it, and then blends back. But despite that, this dodge works just fine because it handles well, and it gives you all the visual feedback you need. That bright light trail both communicates your window of invulnerability and ensures that you can easily track your condition, even if the environment is dark and you're only watching your character out of the corner of your eye because hazards are everywhere. Similarly, the electrical arcs on your character's booster pack provide a handy...
I'm just glad we're done. Actually, quite frankly, I need to check into something. I might have to end the stream early today. I don't know. Maybe around in a couple of... let me go check. If the person responds back and tells me they don't need me, then I can stay longer.
Signal that your dodge is still recharging without to look for that tiny icon in the corner. I don't think I can justify putting this animation itself much higher than C tier, but when it comes to clarity and feel, this dodge is absolutely delivering what the game experience needs. And that's what matters most. Next. Traversal in this game is pretty bonkers in general, and it's kind of hard to draw the line on which maneuvers are and aren't dodges. So let's limit it to these four: rolling, side springs, back springs, and slides. On the one hand, there is definitely room for more animation polish here, especially when it comes to the transitions and the blends between animations. And there are many where the physicality of these maneuvers...
So, what should we do? Okay. We have an AnimeArt that's coming. I have a total of 3. So I have one that's actually technically done. The other one is kind of a work in progress. So the third one, I already have something in place for that. Let me see where I have. It was a sound I had. Go to TikTok. Okay. Let's see. What did I save? I know one. Oh, it was this one.
Young man?
Okay. How can I make this work? Actually, quite frankly, what was the other one I had way back when I saved it? I wonder if it's still there. Did I save it? I swear to God, if I didn't save it, I'm gonna be so mad. Here it is, found it.
So, you really don't remember anything? Not even those...
Oh, I remember the twins, all
right. Okay.
I mean, I remember how much I disliked.
Okay.
On the other hand, those polish issues sure don't stop these dodges from feeling cool to do.
Okay.
The absolutely delivering on that space ninja fantasy, from their look to their speed to the absurd amount of distance they allow you to cover. The agility this game gives you is intoxicating. Also, certain characters...
looks amazing. Thank you.
Frames, sorry.
All right.
Have unique animations for these, which is awesome. But I'm not going to throw more money
I'm
or
gonna be getting
hours at this game
off
just for
around
footage for one video, so
7
I guess
o'clock.
just please take my word for it. Again,
the person's gonna need my help, so I will get off at around 7. So it's 6:26. So I'm gonna do some poses for the animatic. Hopefully, we can pull something out.
I can put this higher than B tier with all of the rough
Beanbag
edges, but
says
these
okay,
dodges are absolutely achieving what the game needs, and they're pretty darn fun to do. Next. I think that counts as a dodge, right? I mean, you are immune to bullets for the duration of the dive, and they do call it a shoot dodge. I'm counting it. This
Where
one
is-
gets a lot of mileage just being so fun to do, but I think it might
Find
also be
some
the most
reference
technically
heals.
complex dodge on our list.
Beanbag
Like,
said
let's
you
break
should
this
do a
down.
thrust trap
We've got
teach.
4-ish directional dives here, which adapt to your aiming direction mid-flight,
That
allow
one.
for a
Morgan R said a what?
Should I?
Beanbag said you should do thirst trap teach. Said thirst.
Maybe. With a sexy girl or something. I don't know what the sound should be though.
weapon grips, and also include a variety of landings and recoveries to get you back to your feet. It is essentially a full-fledged, unique character state
Morgan R
like
said
Crest
that
Women.
typo face
And
with
there are
tears
some
of joy
dynamic
emoji.
systems at
You're
play on
welcome.
top of everything. I would guess Euphoria, given the year this came out, which is
Beanbag said
adapting
like a man
Max's
wanted to
animations
find
when
audio
colliding
for
with the
you to
environment, even making him brace
No,
for impact
no
when he's
man
about to
one.
hit a wall. Lots
No.
of very
Has to be
complex
a woman
technical
one.
animation
You know that's
work
gonna
happening
put
here.
more. No man
Aesthetically,
one.
There is
I'm
some
not doing no
unnatural
man
floatiness
ones.
to motion at times, which can happen when you're trying to blend this many motion capture animations and then layer procedural stuff on top of it. But for a mechanic this complex in a 15-year-old game that's aiming for naturalism, this is still pretty impressive. And a big improvement over Max's shoot dodge
Let's see
animation in the
here.
previous two games. I'm thinking B tier at least. Actually, while we're here, let's look at some more of the games going for that photoreal,
Beanbag said,
naturalistic
"Actually, when I looked
aesthetic.
to send it, I didn't know I auto-corrected to that I meant thirst L.
So this one has several directional sights for dodging various types of attacks, and it feels pretty good to use overall. It doesn't cover a lot of distance, but I think that suits its intended strategic purpose in this combat system. This is about diving clear of danger. It's about sidestepping specific types of attacks and setting yourself up for a counterattack.
Here.
There is still something a little off feeling about the physicality, though. It's not really noticeable in combat, fortunately, but without the distraction of an in your face, the jank gets a lot easier to spot. The clipping and jittering on the feet,
Morgan R.
this
said there are
mechanical
no
hitch in the
mistakes,
body as he
only
hits his
happy
mark and
accidents.
starts
Happy
transitioning back to an
accidents,
idle
Rough
position. And the way the sword arm blends back to your chosen
Morgan R.
stance
said
a little
gave me a
too
gut laugh.
quickly and light, briefly making the katana appear to weigh about as much as a wiffle bat. Like, none of this is detrimental to the play experience, and maybe I'm being a little nitpicky over what amounts to minor aesthetic polish issues, but when your game is going for a naturalistic, real-world look like this, these sorts of rough edges can be pretty detrimental to that sense of grounded physicality. I'm gonna say C tier. Going for a naturalistic aesthetic really gameplay animation hard mode in a lot of ways, because the needs of play and good game feel can so often be in direct conflict with the rules of realistic movement. Like, you can get away with abbreviating or even completely dropping the anticipation and follow-through on Link's dodging without too much consequence, because there's no illusion of realism to preserve here. So long as you can make that dodge feel right and look reasonably believable, people won't
Morgan
even
R.
bat
said
an
the
eye.
dive
But you
Artextric
just
posts
don't
a
have
thrust
that
trap
same
animatic.
aesthetic
It's just
flexibility on a
another
realistic looking
sports car
character.
face with tears of
Realistic
joy
human
emoji
motion
face with
tends
tears
to
of joy
feel
emoji.
very sluggish and
Beanbag
slow on a
said
playable
sports car?
character.
What?
But any major deviation
What?
from
It
realistic
says-
movement is going to stand out and look weird.
If I-
We have all
So
spent
say
enough
thirst
time
trap,
watching real
and
humans
I
do
can't-
things that
it's
we
just a
tend to be
monstrous
pretty good at
engine
noticing when
on
the
a car?
movement doesn't look quite correct, even if we can't
A
pinpoint
sports
exactly
car.
what. Case in point,
Let's see here.
on the one hand, I really like to make Lara's dodge be this desperate feeling scurry. Especially for this more grounded and vulnerable reboot of Lara, the aesthetic flavor of this dodge feels just right. And you can also interrupt the scramble with another dodge input to do a more extended dodge.
You know
The
what?
transition
This
from
will
one
do.
to the next feels pretty good, I think.
I need to draw the
Functionally,
body.
this is all fine. But I imagine that all of you watching this can feel that something about this looks off, right? Maybe you
Morgan
can't
R.
tell
said,
exactly
yeah, a
what, but
sports
something
car.
feels
Gotta give it
unnatural
the
about
thrust,
this.
throttle, and
In this
torque.
case, the scurry animation itself is fine. It's the transition out of that that's really breaking the illusion. That sudden lurch back into a standing position or is simply too quick
Beanbag
and
said,
too
"Gotta rub
weightless.
it the right
As
way,
soon as she hits
ACH."
this frame, the scurry animation is completely interrupted by this 12-frame robotic blend
Beanbag.
back position that just stops dead. It's less than a quarter of a second of unnatural motion, but that's all it takes to catch our attention. Now, to an extent, there is no completely avoid artifacts like these when transitioning between gameplay animations. Every game has them, and they're often in service of making the game feel better. The fact that Lara can quickly blend from one animation state to another one as needed is a good thing, but this is a case where it does not have to look this unnatural. If the player hasn't input and Lara's dodge is just going to resolve back to an idle stance, there's no reason she can't have a longer animation which returns to that idle more naturally. And if the player presses a button in the middle of that longer follow-through, then okay, interrupt that animation as needed. In a more stylized game, this kind of visual polish issue wouldn't be that big a deal, but on a realistic-looking character, it becomes a lot harder to ignore. I think this one's going in C tier as well. Like I said, gameplay animation hard mode. But some games do manage to walk this pseudo-naturalism tightrope successfully, and I think one of them is... Aloy's dodge roll might not have quite the same tonal flavor as Lara's scramble, but the physicality does look much more convincingly weighty and realistic. It's not actually realistic, of course. It's been exaggerated in some very specific ways for better game feel. For example, the transition into the dodge has been sped up a lot for responsiveness, and the distance that Aloy covers with that dive is bonkers, but not so bonkers that you're likely to notice. And that added range really helps feel even more effective and satisfying as an evasive tool. For such a simple-seeming action, the level of polish on this is pretty darn great. The roll looks good no matter which direction you're facing at the start, and when the roll ends, whether it's resolving into a run or just back into an idle stance, that transition is clean. Very smooth. Overall, it's just a very polished execution on a naturalistic dodge roll. A tier. Interestingly, they actually changed Aloy's dodge slightly in the sequel. You see, one problem that the original dodge had, arguably, is that it could be bumped. And because Aloy's dodge roll is slightly faster than her run, this can potentially incentivize the player to make dodge rolling their primary means of locomotion, aka the link maneuver. So, for the sequel, Guerrilla's team made some slight tweaks. The roll animation itself is the same, but if you spam it, the third consecutive roll now has a longer recovery.
I'm not gonna lie, I think I'm gonna stop from here from the this video because it did its job. I think we need to move on from this thing. All right, so let me see what video did we have.
Now said confused.
Yeah. I got confused. By what? What? I wasn't too sure what he was even meaning by that anyway. What was it? I had a video here, but I don't remember. You should add paper. Actually, I should just do that. I had something here, but I don't know if it's... Oh. So wait, is this, I don't know, is this problematic? I don't know, would that be problematic? I think that would be problematic. I'd show this. I don't think show it. If I have to question it, probably I can't show it. There are men, even by George, what on earth did I just watch? What on earth did I just watch? What is this? Okay, what is this?
You know, normally when
I don't know what this is, but it's just a criticism of something. Let me see what this is. How does that work?
I think of cheese to streaming sci-fi action movies with aspirations that outstrip their abilities, featuring dodgy green screen effects to save money and starring a bunch of suspiciously big-name actors phoning it in for an easy payday, the service that immediately comes to mind is Netflix, maybe Amazon, and occasionally Paramount Plus. Generally, though, Apple TV tends to be a bit more discerning about what they commission, relying on the old quality over quantity approach. And good lord, we could do with a bit more of that these days. So when I heard that they were a sci-fi action horror flick starring Anya Taylor-Joy and Miles Teller, two actors I've got a real soft spot for, I promptly hoisted the Jolly Roger and set sail across the high seas. I mean, fired up my Totally Legit subscription and settled in with a pint of bourbon to experience The Gorge. And 2 hours and 7 minutes later, my pint glass was empty, the gorge was over, and there was a suspiciously warm stain on my couch underneath me. And in all three cases, I was left with the same nagging question. What was ultimately accomplished here? The Gorge is a movie that can't
she
quite seem to
finished.
decide
Oh.
what it wants to be. Is
Wait,
it a
hold on.
tense, slow-paced, claustrophobic thriller set in a confined location? Is it an interstudy? An unconventional romance about two people from wildly different worlds finding common ground? A gruesome tale of body horror? An intriguing historical mystery? Or a guns-blazing action flick? Well, the simple answer is yes. The more complex answer
Oh, I may be
tries
able
to
to
be
stay
all of these
longer.
things at once, and because you can only wrap so many wildly
Oh.
conflicting concepts into a single film, it ends up getting in its own way most of the time and generally fails at most of them. Anyway, in order to explain why, allow me to furnish you with a story recap. And I'm probably going to get into spoilers with this one, so if for some reason you really don't want to know what happens in the Gorge, then go find something more productive to do. Anyway, the movie stars Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy as Levi Kane and Drasa, a pair of stars from East and West that have been recruited by their respective governments to stand watch over a mysterious gorge out in the middle of the wilderness for a period of 1 year. The place is protected by all kinds of tripwires and automated turrets, and their job is mostly to maintain them as a last line of defense. The kicker is that they're not there to stop people from going into the gorge. Their mission is to stop anything else from getting out. They're not allowed to communicate with each other, and their only contact with the outside world is a radio check once a month.
Really?
Okay, I've got a few questions about this setup. Why the hell would anyone accept a mission that lasts for an entire year to protect a nation against an unknown enemy with unknown capabilities? Why would you only employ people to guard such a massive area which requires constant observation? I mean, people have to eat and sleep and crap pretty regularly, all of which take their attention to the job. You would need at least 3 people on each side working in shifts to maintain any kind of constant watch pattern, and that's not even allowing for sickness and unexpected injuries. Why are there only 2 watchtowers when the gorge is at least a couple of miles long and the automated defences are repeatedly shown to be insufficient for the task at hand? Also, why are the 2 guards forbidden from communicating with each other when their very survival and the viability of the mission depend on the ability to exchange information and coordinate their defences? Why wouldn't you bail out the moment you came face to face with the horrifying undead monsters that regularly try to climb out of the gorge? Wouldn't that be a very obvious indication that there was something extremely wrong with this place? Anyway, those are all questions for a different movie. A movie that actually cares about making sense. Anyway, as the months drag on, Levi and Drasa eventually start talking to each other by writing notes on sheets of paper and strike up a kind of relationship that culminates by abandoning his post and making a daredevil zipline across the gorge to spend the night with her. I mean, I can't say I blame him. If I'd been alone for months and the nearest woman within 100 miles was Anya Taylor-Joy, I'm pretty sure I'd risk it all to spend some quality time with her too.
Not gonna lie, she's not pretty to me.
Anyway, sadly it all goes wrong when Levi's line snaps and he falls in on the way back, and naturally Drasa leaps right in after him, despite the fact that it's filled with monsters and probably poisonous gas. Anyway, after reuniting with some very timing, they discover the truth about the place. The entire gorge was actually a World War II warfare facility that went tits up when an earthquake caused a containment failure.
I don't know what it is. Disney... Or, not Disney, this is not even Disney. You know what? Fuck it. I'm not even gonna go.
And mutated all the researchers and scientists into the monsters we see today. It's been overseen by a shady defense contractor, because of course it has, and they've been studying the monsters there to produce a new breed of super soldiers. You know, it's like the Resident Evil approach to warfare, where uncontrollable mutagenic pathogens with the potential to beyond the conflict zone are apparently more effective than a bunch of guys with guns. Anyway, whatever. So the 2 of them have to fight their way out of the gorge and then lure in the evil corporation guys led by Sigourney Weaver, because warlords regularly venture into dangerous war zones to personally oversee search and destroy operations. Then they fight a bunch of really shitty looking drones sent to kill them and trigger the gorge's failsafe system to set off a nuclear blast and wipe out the entire area. Then they hook up again in France a couple of months later and have a nice spot of rabbit pie. And that's it. That's the movie over.
Rabbit
you know
pie?
the old cliche that you can be a jack of all trades but a master of none? Well, that's the one that I think perfectly sums up the biggest problem with the gorge. It takes a pretty special combination of writing and directing to fuse together romance, horror, sci-fi, action, and historical mystery into one one cohesive movie, and as much as The Gorge definitely swings for the fences on this one, it's ultimately trying to do too much with too little and failing to excel at anything. The action scenes are pretty
Rabbit
anemic for the
pie?
most part, and the very obvious reliance on CGI on screen means that intense battles for survival come across as kind of weightless and forgettable.
That sounds
And they're
horrible.
definitely not helped by Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy, who deliver the kind of indifferent performances you'd expect from two actors holding plastic guns and pretended to fight CGI monsters. Both of them are way better than movies like this, especially Anya Taylor-Joy feels badly miscast as a tough-as-nails Lithuanian sniper. I mean, I love her as an actress, but I've never really seen her as a tough, gung-ho action star. Furiosa much to change that impression, and neither did this film. On the plus side, the script does at least some attempt to humanize her, giving her an actual personality and character arc, and even allowing her to make mistakes from time to time, which officially makes her better written than about 95 boring invincible girl bosses that Hollywood are still intent on shorting out. The horror aspect, mutated monsters and science gone wrong had some potential if they were better developed, but trying to fuse horror and action usually means that something has to give, and in this case, it's the feature. The Hollow Men, as they're known, start out as an intriguing threat, but they really aren't that scary. You realize the main characters can mow them down with impunity. Visually, they look like a combination of the infected from The Last of Us and whatever the fuck was going on in Annihilation, and the movie's mistake of showing them to us far too early. The mystery aspect of the film is undermined by the complete implausibility of the setup, and when the answers finally do come, they're the usual mix of evil corporations and totally impractical science experiments with no obvious purpose set up the rest of the plots. Ironically, the film's probably at its strongest in its quieter moments, when the pace slows down and the script focuses in on the relationship between the two leads. This is clearly where Teller and Taylor-Joy were most invested as actors, and I get the impression this is where the core of the original script began. The idea of a neat little self-contained story about two very different people bonding over unusual circumstances and ultimately having to risk their lives for each other when things go wrong is a decent concept for a short film or a low-budget thriller, but the problem is that it's buried under so many layers of bullshit that it gets lost in the mix. What you end up with, as I said earlier, is a movie that tries to please everyone and ends up satisfying no one, wasting an interesting concept and a pair of talented actors in the process. I mean, if you're really bored and willing to switch off most of your brain for a couple of hours and just watch two people shooting monsters, then I guess there's worse ways to spend your time, but let's be real here, there's also far better ones. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Okay. Interesting. Let's see here.
Rent a Girlfriend. Recently, I made a post on the community tab anime that you guys hate and that I'd watch and review the most upvoted one. I have never been more horrified to see that Rent a Girlfriend was the most upvoted one with an insane 70 upvotes. To say that Rent a Girlfriend is a divisive anime might be a massive under. I've seen some people who really like the show while others absolutely despise it. And I won't lie, this show made me want to tear my hair out so many damn times. Oh my god! Anyways, this show just talk and that I do walk the walk. I ended up binge watching 3 entire seasons or 36 episodes of Rent a Girlfriend in 3 days, and it went so great. I just finished episode 5 of Rent a Girlfriend and I am in immense pain. I watched 12 episodes of Rent a Girlfriend today, and the only good part about this show is the opening. I want to kick the main character in the balls. This show makes me want to tear my hair out. I just finished episode 30 of Rent a Girlfriend. This show is exhausting. 36 episodes of this garbage in 3 days has got to be like a lethal amount of Girlfriend for any human to watch, right? Like, it doesn't sound healthy. I think my brain has been poisoned by overdosing on Rent a Girlfriend. Anyways, today I have a lot to say about. Hello everybody, my name is Leo Hashi, and today I watched Rent a Girlfriend, so you don't have to. Unless you already have seen it, then I am so sorry. Before we dive into it, this video is my own personal opinion, and obviously you're allowed to have your own. Whether you like the show or hate it and despise its existence like I do, leave your opinions in the comments below, because I'm curious to see what you guys think. Oh, and also, just in case you do want to watch this show for yourself, heavy spoiler warnings, because I do not give a fuck about what I spoil for who at this point. First off,
okay, you know what? First thing, I don't know if anyone wants to actually see this, because I know this show is pretty horrible, but no, I don't even think. No, I don't anyone cares about watching this. I don't think anyone cares. Forget. Let's see. This looks like something that has to do with art or something that's going on when I purchase more woke Western videos. I don't feel like watching that. I already know that's gonna be a thing I keep
Not
watching.
said I care about not watching it intentionally.
Yeah. This one is. Let's see here. Let's have something art related shit. It's not gonna put me in too much deep in trouble.
Hi, Xavier, and today we have a new episode in the Art Review series, and today we'll be checking out the work of Bryce Co. So I have seen this artist before, but I've never really like dived into their work, but now we have that opportunity. I did see sort of a quick snippet or video of him. And he described, I'm not sure if it's a review or something, but he described his work as, like, the word that stuck out to me was maximalist art. And I think what that means is, it basically means a lot of stuff in your piece. So you're like maximizing everything. So I think if you look at the guys like maybe Kim Jung-ki, especially his work or the kinds of work where he fills up the canvas with like just a bunch of everything or a lot of everything, I think that's classified as a maximalist art. So you correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what that's kind of my understanding of it. Or Tatsuya Karada, is it something? The artist we reviewed recently, I think it's kind of the same thing. Not all of his pieces, but in some of his pieces, he will maximize like the page with a bunch of drawings. But I think Bryce is a bit more intense, more severe, because it's like I don't even see empty space anymore because it's just pumping so much up in it. And it's cool because like you can make this into like a cover for basically a print or a pattern for like a bag, a book. Like you could do so much or with this kind of.
Oh god,
artwork.
dude, I'm sorry. No. Like, you're not. It sounds so dead. No, don't want to Japan. Let's fuck. Let me find something. Oh Jesus, bro, it's like it sounds so boring, and you have no music playing in the background or anything. So it's like, Vegas don't say that shit. Okay, let's look at.
They're taking over games, and nobody stands a. Let me guess. It's about China.
I need you guys to make sure losing my mind that I'm not seeing things, because from my perspective, it looks like all the games the players are the most excited for, the ones that they're enjoying the most, the ones that they're talking about the most, the game's successful outside of a couple of outliers. I'm not saying that it's all of them, but they're all coming from the East. Elden Ring, Pal World, Tears of the Kingdom, Armored Core 6, Monster Hunter, Resident Evil, Black Myth Wukong, Space Marine 2, Marvel Rivals, Final Fantasy, and I already know that I'm going to enjoy Stellar Blade once it releases.
Let me think. Could I think of any others? I probably could. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot, especially the ones that are coming out.
PC.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that all Eastern games are great and all Western games are bad. No, there's definitely there's a handful of good games in the West. Believe me, I put 400 hours into Baldur's Gate 3, but the list is very short on the Western side of things. Yeah. And I think this is that the vast majority of the industry doesn't want to discuss, especially games media, because, well, it means that they're losing relevance.
Of course.
Western games are losing relevance.
This is the reason. Your app media doesn't want to acknowledge that Chinese game studios and overseas game studios are gaining momentum and catching up in the market, because that diminishes their cultural relevance. Because their cultural relevance is only important inside of the scope of that individual culture.
Extension, Western media then loses its relevance as well. There's been a cultural shift over the years where players are not being prioritized, but these Eastern studios are prioritizing those audiences. And as a result, because that cultural shift doesn't happen over there, well, they're taking advantage of a situation and they are skyrocketing in popularity. They're gaining players, they're gaining more influence, and more importantly, they're gaining more money, which makes them a major threat to the rest of the industry.
There's also another component too about this, is that a lot of places overseas have much lower development costs because the costs over there are much lower. Like, for example, Black Myth Wukong cost under $100 million to make, much under $100 million to make. If that game was made here in America, it probably would have doubled that number.
About heading towards a world that has a heck of a lot more Black Myths and Marvel Rivals and a lot less Dragon Age the Veilguard and Concords. That's not good for a lot of people in this
And I actually even think that this problem isn't about the West as a macro group. I think it's actually about America. It's American games are the ones that are garbage. Because Baldur's Gate 3, Kingdom Come Deliverance games were great, and they were Western games. It's American brain rot.
I'll tell you that right now because, well, as these
Ubisoft,
Eastern studios continue to be successful, as they're able to produce way more games than a lot of these shows because the financial position many of them are in, well, their investors are going to turn around and ask them, why aren't you doing that?
Yeah.
They're going to say, well, we can't. But before we get into that, Monster Hunter Wilds is right around the corner, and with it is coming some of the craziest PC specs I've ever seen required. So you guys could use today's sponsor, Starforge. I've been loving my new PC from Starforge Systems. It's incredibly quiet, sleek, and lightning fast. It's a way better build than I could do myself, and they've got something for everyone.
By the way, if you want to buy one of the 1590 PCs, you have to be there like the moment because apparently they're still selling super fucking fast.
Ryzen PCs, which are great for everyday gamer, much more affordable and just great for a first-time user or even experienced players. You can kick it up a notch. Go into their Navigator series.
Man.
Packed with next-gen components, giving you some truly high-end performance. But if you're a content creator or enthusiast like me, well, their Voyager series is everything that you're going to need. Starforge has a ton of incredible customization options with PCs inspired by popular games like Terraria and old-school RuneScape, anime like FreeRen, and even their own original ones. And
oh, there's a FreeRen theme? Oh, that's
they
cool.
got limited run designs, plate lights, desk mats, and even posters to match your setup.
That's
Every
pretty
PC
crazy,
is
huh?
hand-built in Austin with premium quality and attention to plus a 2-year parts and labor warranty. Starforge Systems, premium quality, white glove service, and all of it at an accessible price point. Follow the link in the pinned comment or the description below and Starforge Systems and find the PC of your dreams. There is a clear divide.
So true. Absolute 100%. Completely agree.
Between games made in the East and those made in the West. And I found myself enjoying more Eastern games more and more. And I know that I'm not alone. You don't have to look that hard to see the difference. East thriving while Western titles are drowning in complaints, controversy.
The worst thing about Western games and American games is the dialogue in the games. The dialogue is where the real weakness shines through. The gameplay can sound comparable, but the dialogue is just painful.
Deepu sense
Creative stagnation. These studios and publishers get it. Culturally, they get it. They understand what players want, and they're delivering it without compromise. I boot up Monster Hunter.
Adding him.
I need to say that envy the something to do lunch to obtain character. I hate this, so not draw anymore. Adding M. Okay, where did that come from? That literally came out of virtually no. Okay. What the hell?
Black Myth Wukong.
I think it says a lot if you have an Eastern developer that somehow understands American players better than American developers do, right? I mean, this is pretty fucking. It's HR dialogue. Yes, it is.
Fantasy 16, and it feels like peak is the only thing that they care about. They want you to experience something that is unforgettable. They want you to be blown away by the scale, spectacle, and raw excitement. I'm tracking down monsters and I'm fighting them and crafting armor out of their bones.
Yeah,
and
so basically Monster Hunter is about monsters and hunting them, and it's not some sort of veiled critique on climate change or some sort of government,
Thanks for streaming today. It was fun when I'm able to catch. No problem. I think I may cut the stream early tonight. Yeah, I think I might do it anyway. Yeah, we only got 4 minutes. Let this play a little bit and then we'll jump off because, I got done with today's objective, so.
Opinion or anything like that. It's simply a very good video game that's about monsters. I know, guys, I know.
Developers painstakingly
bit of a spoiler.
research ecology to make sure that they can create a realistic ecosystem that feels alive, while at the exact same time, they're not making that their own priority. They're also delivering stylized combat that you'd only find in anime. I'm walking through China's cultural history, experiencing one of the oldest stories.
Well, you'd find it in fucking Yakuza. That game was an anime. That dude, it was basically an anime game. It was insane.
Ever told, and fighting literal gods in Black Myth Wukong. I'm experiencing political evil and a world-ending crisis in Final Fantasy 16, but every moment builds something bigger. The stakes
you, hey there. How are you doing? Dinkaloo, dinkalee. Chestnut is what I be. Dinkaloo, dinkaloo. If you're good, you're chestnut too.
Yeah, all the best chefs catchphrase.
I don't have a catchphrase.
All the best chefs have a catchphrase. First time I believe that was a bottle of ketchup. And you a mustard. Which is weird, because usually your mayonnaise in my dreams. What do you suppose that is?
Okay, wait, I'm looking for a sound here.
Shika, shika, shika. Time out. Bacon running. Ah! Bacon what? Lettuce what?
You have to pass!
Don't worry, Mom. I got this. I got this. Hold my hand. Now!
Burns!
Let's go.
Hold on, I'm trying to look for a sound here.
Everyone, hold hands.
Sweetheart, dear boy, the blubberfish got away because you and your friend Schnitzel want to be a couple of good time Charlies.
Hey there, you hey there. How are you doing?
Okay. How can I make this work? Okay. I know I can do with this one. Okay. Okay. I have an idea. Hey there, you. I might make this into a one-piece one. Okay, I might do that. One Piece. So, let's see. Go back one.
Ashier_star said hi.
Hello.
Hey there, how are you doing?
Okay, I'll do that one.
The music, the sheer unrelenting spectacle. I go from trying to find the truth to fighting a
So
dragon in
fucking
space
badass.
that is about to unleash a laser to the world. Then we
is
look at
so
games
cool.
like Ninja Gaiden, Resident Evil, Stellar Blade, an entire industry of gacha juggernauts unapologetically delivering cool, badass, and attractive characters.
Well, it's because these games know what their target audience is. Games, basically having a target audience is bad if your target audience is in. And if you're making a game like this, your target audience will be young men. And young men want chicks with big tits, swords, and cool shit, and they don't want to be patronized by some Karen. And they don't want dialogue that sounds like HR is in the room.
Yep.
Yep.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Really, you don't. You don't want to be lectured to on how horrible this is socially. I'm not even gonna fuck. I don't care. I don't give a fuck.
Young guys don't like that. They never will like that. You're not going to psyop them into liking that. It's not going to sell, just like it hasn't.
Studios are not afraid to give players what they want. Whether it's over-the-top action, ultra-stylized characters that are as powerful as they are attractive. Western games, well, they've been moving in the opposite direction. The androgynous,
Well, the
desaturated...
reality is, here's the thing. A lot of people play video games to get away from people like this in real life. So when you put people like this, these annoying, disagreeable, obnoxious, just rude
Okay, so how
people
can we
in
make this
video
work?
games.
So we'll
it's like,
grab
I'm
this.
trying to get away from this, and now they're in the game too. Why would I want?
Exactly.
Curated corporate safe designs that play Western titles. Nobody's asking for that. Certainly not the players. Certainly not women. I see countless 2B cosplayers, but I haven't seen a single person willingly dressing up as Activist Part 2. So I guess we might see some Concord cosplays this year. But not just the aesthetics, it's
Maybe
the
for Halloween. The skeletons.
Eastern Studios are focusing on the player experience. It seems like the only thing they actually are not obsessing over realistic sweat physics in a first-person shooter. They're making sure that the controls feel incredible. They're not waiting.
Yes. The physics of the water. Like how things happen in the water, like, oh, well, what do the birds do? Like, yeah, you can focus on that. That's great if you want to do it. Like what we were talking about in Avowed. But if your game doesn't play well, that's priority number one. And you can't even get past that.
Wasting time on irrelevant tech demos, they're refining play mechanics to perfection.
Yeah.
They aren't ballooning their budgets to insane proportions for the most useless things. They aren't trying to be Hollywood.
Yeah.
They're trying to be video games. I've been replaying Armored Core 6, and it's one of the most visually stunning games that I've played. But here's the thing.
Right.
It's not chasing photorealism. It's designed in a way that tricks you like it is. You're so immersed in the gameplay, so locked into the experience that you don't care about environmental destruction or ray trace reflections because the game is so damn good that you don't.
Well, I'll give people a little bit of a heads up. Nobody ever cared about environmental destruction, or actually, people do like that, or like ray tracing or anything like that. This is all something that this doesn't sell a game. At the bottom line, it does not sell a game. It's nice if the game has it, but it will not sell the game.
Need those things. Back in Western AAA games, and what do I get? A checklist simulator, a tutorial that assumes that I've never touched a controller before, a protagonist that will not shut up, constantly telling me what to think and what to feel. A game world that exists only to make a point, not to be explored. Their obsession with open world bloat, because why make a game feel big when you can make it look big? Western developers want to force you through a message. Eastern developers want you to lose yourself in the experience. They aren't holding your hand.
I think that's a really good point that he brings up too, is that there is a level of escapism that Western video games, and especially American video games, don't want you to have. And I feel like a lot of Westerns, it's kind of like, you know what a good example of this is that, were you guys ever in like, you know, AP or pre-AP English class in like high school? And you would have to hear about everything, how everything was a metaphor for like slavery or something like that. And like at a certain point, you just ask yourself, is this actually what the author intended? Or is this just what this dumb bitch keeps saying because she wants to have a job? I think that's where we're at. It was annoying as fuck. Yeah, it's so fucking annoying. It's like, no, not everything is a fucking metaphor.
Close says
like,
law.
people are just talking about this in a general sense.
Painfully self-important narrative filled with stiff, corporate-safe writing. They're letting you engage with a world that feels alive. Eastern games are just different.
Or Refantasio? Well, the reason why Metaphor Refantasio is good...
Actually, no, they're not different. They're just built straight. Let's just go for what it is. They're not built different. They're just built straight. Come on. Stop him. That's the difference. That's literally the difference. That's the difference. I tell you something, there's more fans who are into Genshin Impact than there are in Dragonville, what was it called? Veilguard? I wonder why. It is what it is, it's true. You can't deny it. You can call it hateful if you want, go ahead. But it's true. And if you can't swallow that pill, well, there you go.
Is because they allow Luis to be a force to be reckoned with. Like, he is honorable. He never lies. He's strong. He's competent. Now, he might be evil, but it's not. It's not like he's an inferior person in a lot of ways, if that makes sense, right? Like, they're not afraid to give villains that encapsulate and incorporate. Like, these villains play the role that real-life villains have played historically. But they're not afraid to give those villains positive attributes. And I think that with American games, a lot of these games are afraid to give villains positive attributes because they're worried that people might like the villains.
Yep.
And Luis was fucking cool. He was so fucking cool. He was awesome. It's the same as like that Armstrong guy in, what do you call it? A Metal Gear Rise of Vengeance. That's it. People love Thanos. Yeah, it's a stupid perspective to have, but again, it's a perspective that's informed by 12th grade AP English.
You know why people love Luffy so much? The reason why people love Luffy so much is because what makes him believable to a degree is that, deep down, if Luffy came across someone he he will outright tell you. In your face with little to no problem. If he finds you annoying, he'll say you're annoying. If he thinks you're cute, he'll call you cute. If you think you're kind of like stupid, he'll call you stupid. He'll call out your orientation, if whatever the case may be. He'll do it. He'll call you the N-word. Fuck. And the F-word. If you piss him off. He's not going to say sorry. We all know that. We all just pretend he'll just accept everyone. No, he will not. Let's call it for what it is. Luffy is as genuine when he's showing that he doesn't like you as much as he likes you. That's what makes most anime characters believable, because they will call you names and they will make fun of you if they can. But no, we write characters and villains like, if, say for instance, a villain can talk about taking out a bunch of people because he feels some type of way or misunderstood. But he'll never call any of these people a slur.
Close says basically icky friend group in their gear.
Exactly. And that friend group felt real, even though it was fictional. Like, Iki, what was his? The Akito, I figured he had a split personality going on, and we all know he was on that orientation. They made fun of orientation, but they still accepted him as his friend. That's a real friend group. If I can make fun of you for your orientation, and you can make fun of me for my race, and I can make fun of someone else in the friend group for their height, and I can make fun of you because your gender, and we're still friends at the end of the day, that's a real group. You can call out my race, I can call out your height. Height one can call out your orientation, the other one can call out your money troubles, and if we can still hang out at the end of the day and laugh it off, that's a real friend group. That's the problem. That's the problem. They want HR friends. They want to play this game where we're all just always consciously trying to not offend you. That's why men tend to have better relationships than women. Because we will make fun. We will point out our shortcomings. We will pull out your most darkest secret for our friends just for a shit laugh. Now, I can't your female friends. When you do that, you're an abuser. You are abusing them. You're doing something to them. You have destroyed their lives. You can't. You just can't. This is why men tend to live shorter, but probably live more interesting and better life than women, to a degree. And this is why women last longer, because people are always protecting them under their...
Theater students that are trying to write a story so they can indirectly own Donald Trump. That's it.
Yeah, that's
or
literally
Elon
it.
Musk. Or actually, why not?
That's why they are dominating, and that's why they're going to continue to dominate. It's going to make it harder and harder for a lot of these Western studios to be able to stay relevant. Now, Japanese games being popular isn't anything new. In many ways, Japan is what built the foundation of modern gaming. If it wasn't for Nintendo dragging the industry out of the gutter in 1983, well, we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation. But we're not just talking about Japan. It's China, it's Korea, and beyond. Nobody took notice that 2024 featured an entire wave of Eastern studios stepping into the AAA space, shaking up the industry, and forcing Western studios to confront the reality that they're not the only game in town anymore. And I noticed this shift when I saw historically studios start to step up into the AAA premium game space.
I love this, by the way. I think this is fucking hilarious. That, like, not only you have... So this is,
Close says is the Mecha Break.
Yeah, that's Mecha Break. I actually have a video, but I don't know if I should show it, though. There was a video I want to show, but I'm not sure if I should show it. Dude, like, there's a video here, there's a dude showing how the, what do you call it? The character design, character custom creation section. And apparently there's a section in that where you can literally, like, You can make your character look really
Retroclose says, "Oh, I
lustful.
saw."
You saw that? I don't know if I should post it though. I don't know if I should show in the stream though. It's interesting nonetheless. It's interesting.
These people that made this shitty bullshit game just decided, hey, you know what? What if we just made a really good game? And you know what they did? They made a really good game. That's it.
Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. This was
Yep,
a
Stellar
game by
Blade
side
also.
games, a
Yep.
studio known for gacha games like Grand Blue Fantasy, Shadowverse. Why would they suddenly decide to make a AAA, full production, full priced game
Wolf
unless
Spider
they knew it was a
said,
smart
"Hey,
investment?
Artextric on
Unless they
here."
saw an area of opportunity.
Hey, what's up,
Turns
Wolf?
out they did, because Grand Blue Fantasy Relink sold 1 million copies in just
That's a
11
lot.
days, and it is still continuing to sell.
Excuse me.
The players loved it. Then it happened again with Stellar Blade. Shift Up, another
It was
gacha
also very well liked by the player base. A lot of people that played it enjoyed the game.
studio jumped into AAA gaming, and the result, another massive success.
Wow.
A game that sold over 1 million copies.
Just
It's
on
likely to
PS5.
outsell
Wolf Spider
PlayStation numbers
asks,
entirely
"Is it
once it
on
actually
iPhone?"
launches on PC.
I have a feeling Stellar Blade will have a lot more sales on PC. I think we all know why.
Modders are going to have a field day with this one. This first time Chinese studio delivers a AAA cultural masterpiece in Black Myth Wukong. A game that shattered Steam's concurrent player records and
Spider
sold 20 million
said Star
copies
Rail.
in 1 month. It was bold,
Oh,
visually stunning.
no.
Think about
deeply
that. Selling
do-
20
wait,
million
are you talking about the
copies
video?
in 1 month,
Wolf
and
Spider
it
said, "Nope,
didn't
it's
win
not."
Game of the Year.
No, it's not.
Like, it's actually... I view this as, like... This was outrageous that happened. The big... For political reasons, I still believe this. You guys can call me Conspiracy Andy all you want. I think that Black Myth Wukong undeniably deserved Game of the Year, and the only reason why it didn't win, for reasons. I straight up believe that. I actually
Wolf
do.
Spider
I'm not sorry.
says, "Killed 12 spider in my
Rooted in
house, loudly
mythology,
crying
blending
face
diverse
emoji."
storytelling
That
techniques and
sucks.
cinematic
Hey, somebody gotta say
cutscenes,
it.
and exhilarating combat that just kept you
Yeah.
hooked. Its tight progression and light yet meaningful customization stripped away any necessary bloat. It just offered a pure, content-rich experience that pulled you in and refused to let you. And who could forget Pal World, allegedly made for under $7 million, reaching 25 million players with 15 million copies sold on Steam. A game that
15
crystallizes
million?
just about
Christ.
everything players have been asking for, what
Yeah.
they've wanted, the freedom that they've wanted. Now the release of Marvel Rivals.
That's another great example, is that Pow World, like, even now, like, if I pull up Pow World at this very moment, it has 60,000 people online in its last peak. And the last update
Coffee
was
Fan
like
2024
months
said,
ago.
"Hello, how your day?"
Pretty good. Just doing a
Even
animatic. Trying to do this.
It's
job.
insane.
SX said, "I've just recently started
it's
playing
also on
Overwatch
Game
and been
Pass.
getting
Yeah,
my
but
teeth
those
kicked
numbers
in."
aren't being included on Game
You
Pass.
just started
Some
on
numbers are
that.
even more impressive.
Everyone's leaving
I would say.
Overwatch.
Farming onto the scene with stylized
We're on
characters,
Marvel
great
Rivals
gameplay,
now,
killer
bro.
performance, non-intrusive monetization,
I left
and
Overwatch.
overall
That
just a
shit
fun
can
experience for
kick
players.
rocks now.
It helped the game reach over 600 current players on Steam with over 20 billion downloads across all platforms.
Now, Marvel Rivals, what they need to do, and hear me out on this. What if they had like a mode in the game where instead of fighting against like other, let's say like other heroes in Marvel, what if you fought against like monsters and it was like a dungeon or like a PvE experience, right? I feel like that would be a really cool idea
It would be.
if they added
Proximus
PvE
SX
content
said,
to Marvel
"DBH,
Rivals.
I absolutely
Imagine-
agree. I fucking love
And
Rivals.
maybe they
and
gave
would
like,
pick
you know,
it
certain
10
characters
times
like whole
over
talent trees
Overwatch."
and everything.
Yeah. There's a reason why I left. I left for a reason. I didn't just leave because it was.
Proximus SX, I can't run Rivals on this laptop. I gotta stick to WoW.
Oh, I thought you got a new. Didn't like a new computer and stuff when you're like running a. Or is. What happened to your computer? I thought you got a new one way back when.
Wow. I feel like they could do it.
I thought I could run that, right?
It's a great
the success
idea.
of these games, the shift is undeniable. It's not slowing down. 2025 is
Yeah.
already shaping up to be
Proximus
another
SX,
massive
yeah,
year for Eastern developers.
Wait, it's not in my room.
Monster Hunter
Okay,
Wilds is
okay.
going to explode, potentially breaking
I think
over.
that the majority of the, like, I
Proximus
would say,
SX
like, I mean,
said, "Is it my
Japan has
grandma's
been
place all
dominant in the
across
video
the
game
city?"
industry ever since
I
the
got
game
you.
industry has existed in America, basically. But the big difference here is that you're seeing Korean developers actually bring in, because like Korean developers have always existed in the American, but they've been pretty much always relegated to mobile and pay to win, like gacha style M games. And I think that now they're developing games that are much larger in scope. Besides that, I think that Kazan First Berserker is one example of that. But the big one, on 80% here, is China. China are the ones building and making the really big games now.
Proximus
And
SX said,
the other
"I
big
may,
reason
though.
for it,
Just
I'm going to
got
be
on
honest. You
11
want to talk
Street
about
with a
real
7-win
soft
Street
power?
Pirate.
How about having everybody
I
in the
may
fucking
got
Berserk
and
mythology
climbing.
is one of the best
May
games that
super
came out
good
this
for
year.
climbing.
That's
She
real
is.
soft power, not a transsexual Sesame Street play in Iraq. That's real soft power.
Concurrent players on Steam. I could easily see it. I mean, Monster Hunter World, quintupled engagement across the entire franchise, so there's no telling.
We take all of the money from USAID.
Okay.
We give to Rockstar to make a game of the 12 Trials of Hercules.
The 12 Trials? Oh!
That's right. That's right. That would be insane.
Proximus SX said, "I
New
absolutely
entry
didn't
can go.
Overwatch, though."
Players are already excited for Phantom Blade.
Oh,
Zero,
yeah,
the
you're gonna
Revolution,
hate that.
the others, Flight of Achium,
Everyone
and
feels
Tides of
slow.
Annihilation, all made by Chinese
That's why I
studios
started
stepping up
that's
to
why I
steal the
stopped
show.
playing
And
Zen.
after seeing all these successes and the engagement that I'm seeing from the
He's
players,
slow-
how
he's just
excited
too
people
slow,
are
and he
for
gets
some of the
used
games
way
that
too
are coming
much.
out, I think that Eastern Studios have figured out what Western gaming has refused to accept. That the layoffs, the cancellations, the flops aren't because gaming is dying. Players aren't in games. They're
Proximus
leaving
SX
Western
said no.
games. We're seeing an
Everyone's too
industry
fast.
that's at war
They're
with its
too
own
fast? I
audience.
feel like they're
To
too
the degree
slow.
the
That's a really good way of
Oh,
putting
wow.
it. Yeah, at war with its own audience. That's exactly what it is.
There's a particular character in Marvel
Yep.
Rivals that is way too fast.
When
for,
did prop change
for her
to
own
soft
good, and I
power?
believe it's what's his name? Black Panther.
It never did. It's just a new
Proximus
definition.
SX said, "Like, if that Torbnum guy decides to
against and
straight
the great
spam out
bankruptcy,
hitting
and
the
they're
shot
Monster's
stepping
gonna
in
fucking explode.
to
Yeah.
I'll take what Western studios have abandoned.
That's
And I
where-
think that the industry is threatened by this,
Always
and they
has
should
been.
be, to be honest with you. I mean, look at the way this media reacted to some of these releases. Because while Stellar Blade
I
reviewed
gotcha.
relatively well, it was without controversy. Heck, they actually had to write an article to tell everybody, why is Stellar Blade so controversial? Are attractive characters unrealistic?
They are for women in America.
Female beauty standards and
Bro.
gaming need to evolve. I'm sorry, but saying that beauty standards need to evolve is like saying that gravity needs to be more inclusive.
Well, to be fair, with a lot of the people saying beauty standards need to evolve, they also probably also have a problem with gravity.
Right before
Okay. Damn. God damn, that was perfect. I love that.
Proximus S absolutely love that.
Try to change reality all you want, but people will always
It's
be
just
drawn
funny.
to what they find.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's
And
just
this came back
funny.
with
I
Wukong,
swear to
and
God,
that's where
bro.
They absolutely lost the
Shit.
developers not responding to the
Yeah.
accusations that they made up.
That was
Not
funny.
responding to the-
What about that? We made up a bunch of stuff about you. Aren't you going to address this and come to the table and play the game that we've created that you lose in? Like, why aren't you playing our game that you lose in? Wait the chessboard up so I can checkmate you. Why don't you want to play the game? You can't just ignore us. No, you can't sell 20 million copies. What are you doing?
Proximus SX said another match started.
Their headquarters
BRB.
being vandalized
All right,
because
bro.
of the accusations they made. Not answering questions about inclusivity in a game about a monkey. That's what it became painfully clear.
That what's his name? What's his name? Fuck. Oh, what's his name? It literally just slipped my mind. Kyle said that. Then Kyle said that same thing. You need inclusivity in the monkey game? Are you seriously? Are you serious? Are you serious that you need inclusivity in the monkey game?
Says, yeah.
Like, are you serious?
No, the worst thing that was painfully clear about that is the self-report of all the developers saying that all the reviewers saying that there were no women in the game. All you did is self-report that you didn't even finish the game. You played through the first chapter or two. You finished the game because you'd know that the entire fourth chapter is all about women.
Damn.
It's not even true.
terrified of these rising Korean and Chinese studios because they can't control them, so they have them instead. The only controversy surrounding these games was fabricated by media outlets desperately trying to reinforce their own narrative and their own worldviews. And it became laughably odd once reviews started rolling in for Black Myth Wukong, with multiple critics slamming the game for a lack of female characters and diversity, not realizing...
Dude, bro, like, if you are a reviewer, you're doing that, like, again, bro, like, I don't know, like, CERN or, like, NASA needs to hire these people because somehow these games journalists have managed to take their credibility and divide it by 0. Physically impossible. They've broken the limits.
I think the women played a key role, Act 3 and beyond.
Yeah.
I brought this up before. I think I showed it in one of my last videos, but it still blows my mind that Inverse would straight up call anyone who bought the game Chinese nationalists and anti-woke.
Wait, what? Black Wukong isn't even good, but that won't stop Chinese nationalists and anti-woke.
What?
It isn't even good. Also, like, nowhere in the game did it say China was good. The only thing that they said at all that was a realistic, like, relevance is that apparently there was that stat, like the guy, the headless guy with that would do the thing in chapter 2. Apparently that statue is real. And apparently somebody like that had the head of the statue, and they just semi-recently gave it back to China. So the Rat King running around with the fucking head. And to be fair, they were being rats. That's not their fucking head. That's not their statue. They should have given it back, and they did. That's good. It was amazing.
Thinking, look how detached from reality media has become.
Yes.
Fun action game, no political messaging, monkey with the big stick go bonk. Yeah, that's fascist. This is about an industry that is panicking. Western publishers and media have spent the last decade trying to...
Monkey with stick go bonk? That's fascist. Oh my god. Monkey with big stick go bonk.
What players should want, and now it's backfiring. Eastern Studios aren't arguing with the audience. They're just giving them what they want. I just saw that Marvel Rivals had planned to do mid-season rank resets. The players said no, and Marvel Rivals just said, okay, that's fine. I think that's what a lot of the industry has gotten away from. Not what games should be about.
Usually when they do a rank reset, for me, it doesn't really matter.
Not what games should be, but who games are for. Eastern Studios, pretty much across the board, are just doing a better job at recognizing what players want and are giving it to them. That's what you need to do to succeed. A lot of Western developers and media are just so caught up.
You just look at want and then you give them the thing they want. I know, like, how could, like...
Crazy, right?
Imagine your job is that easy and you just keep messing it up. How do you keep messing that up? I feel like it's pretty easy, isn't it?
Keep fucking that up?
In today's events and politics, that they're forgetting that playing games to escape from that. Eastern games are thriving because they're not chasing trends or politics. They're chasing timeless experiences. They're crafting worlds that players want to revisit years, not just ones that are going to give you Twitter engagement for a few weeks before fading into irrelevance.
Yeah.
Just the topical nature of Western games is already a death sentence. I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm like, I played Borderlands 3 a few years ago. The entire time I was playing it, I was like, dude, nobody's going to remember any of these pop culture references, any of these cringe jokes or anything like that, because it was just so modern day. It was so today for that game when it released. And I'm like, people aren't going to...
You know who makes a lot of these, like, inside jokes and everything?
Rydraclose
and,
says
like,
I
some
played
of it is
that
okay
game.
because it's kind of like parody of itself, like Deadpool. But do you know who does it?
Worth it?
Fat, boring, lame millennials with Funko Pops.
Mm-hmm.
On antidepressants. That's who it is. That is your enemy.
Remember this stuff. I was Dragon Age the Veilguard. Do you think 20 years from now somebody's going to pick up that game and go,
Rydraclose has honestly just
What
played
are
the
they
game
even
while
talking
listening
about
to
in
something
this?
else.
Eastern Studios have just been so much...
That's actually a good question. Yeah, what is non-binary going to look like in 20 years?
It'll look like nothing.
I wonder, because, yeah, that's crazy to think about it. Oh, man. Wow.
More consistent.
Because it's hard to stay on no man's land. That's the hardest thing you can ever do. You can't ever be on no man's land for long, if ever. So, 20 years from now, they're gonna look exactly the same.
What it might look like zombies.
Or that too.
Have any of that extra bullshit that's in there. We just
Actually, you know how you be non-binary? Become a clicker.
complaints from them. I think that's another thing as well. When you think about some of these Eastern studios, the vast majority of controversy that surrounds them is the normal stuff. Day one performance, patches, expansion content, microtransactions. I want to go back to those days, man. I'm tired of talking about some of these issues with some of these Western games. You don't see their developers, their mentally ill developers going on Twitter and having a meltdown, keep their politics and their opinions out of their games and out of the public eye, and they just go on doing their job.
Yeah, they just do their job. It's the same as like, you know, I look at like one of these Western games, like this is probably a bad take, but that's my job here, right? Every time that I go and I look at a Western game development and it looks like a Chuck E. Cheese, and then I go and I look at like the From Software studio, Square Enix studio, and it's a bunch of people sitting in their cubicles working, I start to notice a pattern.
Chuck E. Cheese.
I do.
Bro said Chuck E. Cheese.
I'm just saying I notice a pattern.
Games do the talking instead. Oh man, their games
Creative
are
Business
talking.
Unit 3.
You know, it's been a while since I've done a review. I need to do a review. I've been playing Armored Core 6 again, and it's insane how good that game is. It's just
the only thing that's bad about Armored Core 6 is that the DLC for it hasn't come out yet.
It's how good that game is and how little spotlight it got. The players that loved it,
I played the whole thing.
They loved it. The players that don't haven't played it yet.
Well, it's a mech game, right? The problem is like mech stuff was so big in the 90s and the 2000s, and like he remembers this, right? Like back whenever we were kids, it was so big, but then like they started trying to make mech games in like the GameCube and like a 360 era. They tried making them super realistic, and it ended up not being fun.
Yeah.
And like now we're going back to mech games being massive with things like Mecha Break. Like we had Mecha Break earlier. This came just like a few days ago. Actually today, let me see if I can find it and pull it up again. Mecha Break, and then today it peaked at 300,000 players for the demo for the game. Fucking insane. Absolutely fucking insane. So mech games are coming back.
So beautiful, but they don't like trying to make sure that I can see my reflection in the visor of an enemy mech or anything like that.
Yeah.
They don't waste a bunch of time and money and resources on all these weird fidelity things that just aren't necessary for a game like that. Just make it tight controls and gameplay, really good story. It's one of the best stories that I've experienced in a game over the last few years. That's a good story. Outliers, of course. There's some really good ones that are out there.
Yeah.
But 90% of it was from text. Like it was just a pop-up on screen and voice.
Well, that doesn't say a lot. I mean, fuck, like most of those text-based adventure games have a better story than any AAA American game. I'll tell you that. And like the big difference to me, like you know what the real shocker to me was with Yakuza.
Lavenda TV Queen says,
I was playing that Yakuza pirate game, and I was like, wow, this is actually a complex storyline, and it's not super black and white, and it's interesting. And the characters are complex. And then I've been playing Avowed as well, and it's just sad. It's really just sad.
That was it. No
play Yakuza
scenes or anything like
Love
that.
the TV
Wasn't
Queen
necessary.
says, how
They
did the
didn't
drawing
need that
turn
because
out?
they just
Oh, fuck. Sorry, I wasn't even paying attention. It's done.
Brighter Close says that you fave artist.
Oh.
I fave.
I wanted to see what you... It's done. It's right here. Don't mind all that lines. That's just a big nothing burger.
Lavenda TV Queen says, hi.
Actually, I guess with the lightning. I think that's everything. I put the tail and everything. Hope I'm not missing anything. You tell me if anything's missing.
focused on it being pure gameplay. And man, is it so.
Yeah, no, the other game like that is Mouthwash. Like I remember because like I was even talking to Emmy about
Love
this.
Ender TV
loved
Queen
that game.
as it looks
And it's
amazing.
Like one of the
Okay. Do you want anything changed? Just let me know. You love it? Okay. I'll send it to you. I just didn't do it on stream because I wasn't too sure. I'm pretty sure you was gonna come in stream. I wanted you to see it first before I sent it because I don't have to like run back and forth with these. So I just waited kind of at this point. So glad that you like it though.
The things that I would say really defines whether a game is good or not is how much you
Because
think
if there's
about the
anything that
game
needs to be
after
changed,
you
let me
play
know.
it. And like that's the kind of game that like you think about long term because of how complex and how good it was. And like that's really the way I see it. What's your excuse for Yakuza having a low player base? I don't know. I don't really
The
just like.
TV Queen says no, it looks great.
I don't know. Maybe it just didn't
I'll
resonate
sign
with
you
a
up
lot
for
of
the
people.
stream,
Like
I
Armored
promise.
6 didn't have a crazy high player base either, honestly. Yeah, it didn't. That doesn't make the game bad. Like, so the thing is that, and it's disappointing though. Like, you bring up a good point, don't you? Because like, I would love it if Armored Core 6 peaked at 1 million players. Because if it did, we'd probably already have Armored Core 7. And we'd have, like Battle Core and, Mech Core and all these other games. Now, we did get Mecha Break, which is nice, but I want more of them.
Good. That's what players want. That's
It's a
what
niche
these
game like
Eastern
Metaphor.
studios have
Yeah.
been delivering. Nonsense, all gameplay, give the players what they need.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's why they've been succeeding, and that's why some of these Western games have been failing. Because, I think they got comfortable. They had a stranglehold on the industry. They had more money.
It's not that they're comfortable, it's that they're insulated. They're insulated by these by the media that they work hand in hand with in order to push narratives that are basically
is. That's
player
what I want.
unfriendly. That's friends.
Developers, more resources, more experience. But now you have some of these studios that are popping up in some of these other countries that aren't under their influence, are really
Proximus SX
inexperienced,
said just
but they
played
got the
against the
people to
ball
be
of
able to
Lucio.
do it, and they're learning
So
pretty
much
quick.
knockback.
Developer tools,
On the hill
barrier
network,
to entry to
there's
make a
so
video
many-
game
Oh,
is way
yeah,
lower than it's
so
ever
much
been before.
knockback.
That's a major threat for some of these.
Oh
That's
yeah,
why
I
some of
never
these
looked
companies
at
have
those.
forgotten how
Only one because I play May Smart.
Tell you something, I never really liked playing against the hamster, that fucking rodent. I always found him really annoying, especially annoying hamster is a good one. If you get play as the hamster, you pretty much got yourself a very strong tank. Probably one of the strongest tanks in the game. Because he's fast, and he's big, and he's not so easy to kill. That's what makes him dangerous, because he's fast and big. And his hit rate is pretty high. But he hitting you is pretty much easier, because he's just a giant, bigger character just to hit you with. And they know what they're doing, and especially his ultimate with that high ratio of like he can cover a whole area. Oh, Jesus.
To treat us like customers. And it makes me. I was wondering
Disrupt a lot
why
of problems.
Black Myth Wukong and Stellar Blade had this weird, like, anti-Asian, anti-Chinese rhetoric among games media in a lot of different circles. I mean, like, they had the one person that said, if you bought the game or the people that made the game successful were Chinese nationalists and the anti-woke. The reason why they say that is because it's meant to sound evil.
It's you're the bad guy. Now you're the bad guy. And also, like,
And
I am an
the irony,
appreciator-
the irony part about this, these are not evil white men coming after them. That's the irony in this conversation. It's like they're saying they're putting nationalists out there as some form of racism or something like that they're trying to pull off, but it does not work because it's not a white guy. They do say Asians are white adjacent now because they're trying to do that totem pole racism hierarchy stupidness, but it ain't gonna work. It just doesn't work because Asians past are not the same as like here, like a white man. You know what I'm saying, here in America, it just doesn't compute the same. You can say the Asian guy. You don't see all Asian people racist because you already put every minority under the diversity umbrella under that. So even if one is being racist towards a specific group of people or just one person, it's that Asian person. That's how that works, and that's what that's why it doesn't have that same vigor. Because if you say, oh, that white guy is racist, you appreciate all white guys to a certain degree because of what history has taught Americans and young people in X, Y, and Z. So they say what they say to white people. But if you say it to Asian people, it's not the same. Actually, you're just attacking a minority at that point. That's how that works. And then it doesn't compute the same. It just doesn't. So that's why when you put Chinese nationalists, you don't hear racist person. You just hear like Chinese person who's from their country in most young people's heads. They just don't hear racist white person in a like white or something like that.
Of Chinese culture. I think it's incredible. It's one of the oldest cultures in the entire world. Like America's 250 years old, China's 3,000 years old. That's incredible. That's amazing. Like you can appreciate Chinese culture and Chinese mythology with actively subscribing to everything that the current government thinks. Of course.
It's meant to be disparaging. These countries have a culture that's counter to theirs. They can't let that stand. But these studios aren't just a threat because they counter their culture. They're not just a threat because of the fact that, well, their games are delivering what players want. They're a threat because they have something that the rest of the industry is going to have a real hard time with. They can make games far cheaper and far faster
and straight
than anybody else in the entire industry. That's going to be a big problem because as they create more games, they overwhelm the rest of the industry. Well, the rest of the industry is not going to be competing with them. They're going to be swallowed by them.
That's what's going to happen with AI too. That's why Trump was right. Like I was like, because people are mad that Trump like got rid of like some of the ethical concerns with AI. The fact is that like if the other countries aren't doing this and you're doing it, you're going to lose. That's it. You just lose. That's all there is to it. Like I mean, like you can lose with dignity, but usually after you lose, you don't keep a lot of dignity.
No, you stay on the
Something that
wayside.
big.
Yeah.
The rise in Eastern studios isn't just a trend, it's a foundational shift in the industry. What we're seeing right now isn't just one or two breakout hits, it's an entire new wave of studios that's stepping out onto the global stage. And the scary part is, for developers, they're only going to get better. Most of these companies are still in their infancy, yet they're already disrupting the market. Game Science, as an example, the developers of Black Myth Wukong, did a AAA game before, yet they produced a title that sold 20 million copies for only $43 million. Given the average salaries of Shift-Up employees,
This is like having thing in Iron Man 1. It's like Tony Stark built this in
a cave.
In a cave.
Yeah, it's on that. It's
and
on
you
that
can't
level.
build this with $1 billion.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yep.
Henry Ford asked for.
I remember the
consumers
dude was
what
like, he was like trying to tell the bald guy, the villain. He's like, "Sir, we cannot make this. Technology doesn't even exist. We don't." Say, and he screams in his face saying, "Tony Stark built this shit in a cave." He's like, you know what? You kind of got a point.
they wanted, they would have asked for faster horses. Now, what do you think should happen to a person that spams chat like this? What do you think should happen?
Okay, that's 1, 2.
And I want you to know that I saw your message previously. I didn't read it. The reason why I'm pulling you up is because you're spamming. It's not like spamming worked. I saw your message the first and the third and the fourth time too. Do you have any last words before you're banished into the Shadow Realm? Awesome. 07. See ya.
Stellar Blade cost an estimate between $40 to $50 million. Now imagine what studios can do once they gain some more experience, more funding, and a deeper understanding of the global market. Unlike many of these Western AAA studios, which have been floundering decades of experience, these new developers aren't starting with bad habits. They're built from a lean, focused, and player-driven approach. One of the biggest advantages for a lot of these Eastern studios is just cost efficiency. The Western gaming industry is drowning in development costs, with AAA games exceeding $200 to $500 million budgets. We're seeing her development cycles.
I actually think that a lot of these studios, like I've had the mindset that every single organization or group of people that I've ever heard of, and like I've ever intimately understood like the nature of their production, I've learned that most of the people that are involved are retarded.
Okay, let me see real quick.
Hey there, you hey there, how are you doing?
How are you doing? Okay, Okay.
And usually a lot of money is wasted by or in service of the people. Like most systems are garbage. Most of them can be optimized. And the issue also is that, you know, you have the bureaucratic entropy where you need managers to manage the managers.
Damn.
And this is like obviously multiplied when you have HR and other types of, you know, identity groups that are trying to make the company pay to keep them effectively on corporate welfare.
Higher failure rates and lower margins, yet somehow these guys keep spending and inflating their budgets even more instead of actually refining their gameplay.
Yeah.
In contrast, Eastern studios are operating on a fraction of the cost, yet delivering high-quality games that rival or surpass that of their Western counterparts. And I think the reasons for this are pretty straightforward. They have a focused design philosophy. Eastern studios are prioritizing gameplay first rather than overproduced cinematics and unnecessary bloat. Their teams are more efficient. They're not building massive bloated development teams that take years to onboard and years to manage. Is more disciplined without the need for endless games as a service monetization.
This is again what I was saying before about the studios that look like a Chuck E. Cheese.
Models, they're just focused on delivering
I'm just
a
saying.
complete experience. And what's really scary for a lot of these Western publishers is that not only are these Eastern studios going to get better at their jobs, they're going to get more efficient over time. There's no denying that in some of these East countries, that they have lax labor laws that allow for faster, more demanding work cycles. It's not a good thing from an ethical standpoint, but it's an advantage when it comes to pure production output.
It is
beyond that, something else that works.
This is something people need to understand is that if other people are doing and you think that it's unethical, you either need to do that unethical thing or you lose to them. Because the reason why cheating is against the rules is because it is effective. There is no form of cheating that isn't against the rules generally that isn't effective. So you either play on that level or you lose. I remember this was true with RBGs back in Cataclysm and Mists of Pandaria. Is like you had to have a proxy, you had to do this. You had people that were DDoSing constantly. You had people that were kickbotting constantly, people that were botting constantly. And like, if you didn't have this, then you would lose. I decided to just quit the game at that point because I thought it was weird, but a lot of other people didn't. So like, that's it. Even easier with screen peeking. Yeah, exactly. So integrity is optional. No, integrity is not optional. Integrity is guaranteed not in the highest level of competitive economics. In any sort of extremely high stakes competition, guarantee that integrity will not be present.
Favor is that workplace culture in many of these Eastern studios rejects the Western's obsession with toxic positivity. The idea that all work must be praised.
11 strategies for praising employee work without causing team resentment. I don't think this is like thing.
Criticism must be soft, and nobody can ever be called out for doing a bad job because in Eastern studios, criticism is direct and result driven. If you mess up directly, there's no hand holding, no excuses, no performative social media activism. Employees are expected to improve. Bad work doesn't just get a pass because it aligns with corporate social agendas. The game is
I think this part is true too. I do, because like I feel like there's a big component where a lot of people can't take criticism. And I've always said this before, like I remember whenever I would raid lead or whatever, is that if I can't take criticism, I just kick them out of the raid. Just kick them out. Who cares? Like, get rid of them. There's no reason to tolerate a person like that. You can't deal with a person like that. If their ego is more important than the team's goals, then get them out.
Get the fuck out.
Now, if you're dealing with I think that there's a lot of tact and, like personal, like, and you guys can ask anybody that's ever dealt with me, like ever in the history of dealing with me. Nobody's ever had a bad experience. And again, you can take that to the bank. Ask anyone, right? Like, I could be aloof or unresponsive, but have I ever been rude or hostile to somebody? Literally never. Never. And again, ask anybody. But my point is that criticism is not an attack. And I think that the focus with a lot of people is that people get too personally invested into things, and it becomes hard to criticize them because of that personal investment. And I think that's, again, like the narcissism Like, I think that the West, and especially America, a huge narcissism problem. And I think that narcissism problem manifests itself in the prevalence of gambling, actually. I think that the amount of people that are hyper-focused and hyper-fixated on gambling, one of the reasons why is because they think they're the ones that's going to make all the money and they're going to win. And so, like, that's really a massive, massive component. And I think that hinges on narcissism.
Plays the priority. Cultural narratives don't override the responsibility to deliver a great product. Compare this to the West, where some developers are spending more time policing their communities rather than making better.
We got 10 minutes and then my job.
Games. You got studios that are hiring based on
Actually, 9
ideological
minutes.
alignment rather than skill. Fearful of offending social media mobs and constantly engaging in PR firefighting.
Well, it's very obvious that this is the perspective, right? Like, you never see anybody in the gaming industry that's talking about, like, a lot of people in the gaming industry talk about politics and they talk about, like, political opinions, etc. But you never hear a single one of them say anything positive about Trump.
Yep.
And you could say, oh, well, that's because Trump's bad. But okay, sure. But if you take a sample size of the population, and 30-40% actually realistically don't think Trump is bad, how is it that every single one of them over there thinks that?
That's
Well,
a very weird.
It's because they're hiring and they're basing their interactions and their
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
what's the word for it? Like the interactions, like their coordination and who they're dealing with, association with people that idealize with them. And anybody who doesn't ideologically align with them gets what do you call it? They get alienated. It's an echo chamber? Yeah, it's an echo chamber.
I get excommunicated, yeah.
Massive echo chamber. And how does that happen with, like, the video game industry? There's obviously, like, it's not like this happened naturally, because if it happened naturally, you'd probably see
You sure you like this
spread
work?
that's similar to what the
Fave,
general
are you sure
population
this is good?
But no. Why is that? It's common sense.
Rather than focusing on making something great. Eastern developers don't have a problem. There's another huge advantage that these Chinese studios have in particular, and it's access to one of the largest gaming markets on the planet, while Western studios don't. Many Western AAA released in China due to strict censorship laws or a lack of appeal to Chinese audiences. That artificially handicaps Western studios, while Chinese studios have no problem releasing their games both domestically and internationally. Look at Black Myth Wukong. 7% of its sales came from China alone, yet it still pulled in millions of Western players. Now imagine what happens when a Chinese studio makes a game that's even better, with higher global appeal, and also at less than half of the development cost of a Western AAA game. Things get really dangerous for Western developers.
Yeah, and also this is only going to multiply with AI. A lot of studios are already using AI as technology to enhance their games now. And, like, obviously a very form of it is frame gen, right? Like, this is effectively like the degree of AI. And so the fact is that this is going to become more and more common. So as you have a regressive culture in America that is against AI, that hates AI, and they don't want to use AI, they're going to protest AI. And then you have China, let's say, or Japan or Korea, or anywhere else really, that's using AI. And their AI is better, and it's producing higher quality results at a higher ratio in the market. That product will win, and it will kill the product that does not take advantage of it. That's all there is to it. It doesn't matter what you can have whatever moral opinion you want on this, but at the end of the day, the biggest clothes manufacturers that are set, like Nike, Adidas, all these places, as far as I know, their shoes aren't here.
It just felt like, okay, number one, Marvel Rivals has a feature that I do enjoy that O2 should have had. The number one feature that I think that really brings Marvel Rivals together, other than the liking button when you can like it, because that's the one of the small things, but it's really funny. I find it where in Overwatch you can only like up to 2 or 3 people, but on Marvel Rivals you can like as many characters on your team as much based on how they perform. That's kind of cool. I like that. Second, the major thing that Overwatch lacks when it comes to Marvel Rivals is the idea of having characters that interact with each other to the point where their ultimates, or at least their abilities, enhance or buff the other. I like that. If I play as like Cloak and Dagger and I have a what do you call it, Moon Knight, he can go invisible just because I'm on the team. I'm playing that character, but once I stop playing that character, he doesn't have that ability no more, right? It makes a dynamic that makes things different. Watch did not do this. All they did is just give you a new character. That's all they did at the stages of this problem. And then also they promised the idea of PvE. Didn't happen. I'm not even good. I'm gonna put it, by the time this year we have a PvE in Marvel Rivals by the end of this year, so I'm pretty sure there will be one. Right? The other thing I like about Marvel Rivals is that it puts in a feature where if you're good enough in the game, like competitive wise, you can actually team and play on team in the game itself for money. That's kind of like what Fortnite does to a degree. I actually like that feature. Overwatch never did this. And it was pushing that esports nonsense a long time ago, and that kind of died off completely. The other thing I like about the game is that
Proximus SX said that's awesome indeed.
the gameplay, like, okay, so like you're not trapped in one particular meta. So like, for instance, you can have 2 healers, 2 DPS. In this game, you can have 3 healers, 2 DPS, and 1 tank, still win a game. Sometimes you can have 4 straight healers, 1 DPS, and a tank, and still win a game. So the meta doesn't have to stick to one particular balance, and that's it. At that point, that really depends on how skilled your characters are. In Overwatch, when you try to do this doesn't work. Oh, actually, well, if you're playing quick play, I think that you can still do no. In quick play, that's locked in. I think you have to play free play, where everyone can play as many play as many classes as they want, and that still doesn't work, right? So, and next thing. Survivability is pretty high in Overwatch in Marvel Rivals compared to Overwatch. You have a, like, say for instance you're playing as a Venom, right? If you fuck up somewhere down the line where your healers are getting wiped out or something like that, you have an ability where you can literally flip right out of there and just like kind of get out of there, right? Same thing with Doctor Strange. I still hate him to this degree because I think he's overly powered when it comes to survivability. Not in power, but like in survivability. I think his health is way too high because I think his shield is way too strong in the sense of it lasts too long for it to break, right? Or his life is too big for him to take down. It takes like most of the team just take him down. Especially if he has a healer on him, it's almost hard to just take him out. And if he ignores you as like a tank or a DPS, he can just go for the healers and just take you. Especially if he has his ultimate. Oh my god, you know what I'm saying? So, survivability in this game is pretty high. You can actually get out of situations most cases without the help of others. But that only falls upon if you're paying attention most of the time. So, in Overwatch, you know, once you're kind of in the fray, if you're stuck, you're stuck. You have no real out from that point. Kind of screwed at that point. Only certain characters can just kind of get out of there, but not all characters. Majority of most characters can get out of their situation pretty fast. Survivability-wise.
Made in America, okay? And these are mass companies. You want to compete against that? You want to hire people in America and pay them the same wages? Go ahead. Have fun.
Another thing, what I like about Marvel Rivals environments, I know this is a small thing, it's not a big thing, it's not doesn't like make change. Well, it changes the gameplay to a 1/10 of a degree, I guess, if you think of it in a sense, but
Studio Remax said, I have been watching and following along as you draw. How did you learn to draw? And I mean Loki.
You mean Lucky? I just practice. I practice a lot. I do my practice most of the time just drawing characters, doing character designs and all that stuff, but I usually just did a lot of anatomy work and then stylization came through. You just have to practice like the head, the arm, the leg, the whatever. You have to practice them and understand them and spatial awareness and all that stuff. You can watch my videos on my tutorials on that if you want on YouTube.
Proximus SX said, at least in Rivals, I don't get one tapped out of someone's ass. Looking at you, Sombra.
Yeah, you don't get one tapped, and then another thing, you don't get turned off every 5 seconds by a stupid Sombra. That's annoying as hell. You know, so... And the ultimates are pretty good in most cases. They don't feel like a total waste unless, well, some can nerf others depending on the situation, but that's just if you're attention. That's more skill issue at that point. Because like if you're playing as like a Susan Storm and then you're going against a Storm, which is funny, they both have Storm in their name. You can actually like, what's the right word? You can actually just nerf her completely with your ultimate. So that can work. So that really depends. So, but Marvel Rivals just has some mechanics that just makes Overwatch look like they wasn't trying. Now Overwatch is doing shit like Marvel Rivals. They're doing the monkey see, monkey do phase. And what makes this really annoying is that they could do what Marvel's did. They just chose not to, most cases. And now they're doing things that Marvel's doing. I'm like, bro, that just proves to me more reason why I'm glad I left. You're like it's like a selfish significant other who wouldn't do the things that make you happy, and then when you finally leave and find someone better, they're trying to prove to you that to come back to them and they'll do everything that you told them they said they're not going to do, or they didn't have time to do. They just have to have time now for you. No, fuck you. That's how I see it. All they did is just add Junker Queen and some other characters, and that's it. They didn't really change the meta of the game or anything. They just kind of like added a new character. That's it. They didn't really change anything. So. And then they kind of threw the lore out the window. Like, it just seems like back in the day when you had a skin on Overwatch, the skins usually meant something based on lore. Now the skins are just a skin. It has no significant like value other than it being costing $20, $5, or depending on what, or as an event skin or something. I don't know. So they have no real meaning anymore. So whatever. All right, guys, it's 8:01. I'm gonna stop it from here. I'm gonna let everyone go. Tomorrow we're going to do some skin studies now since I'm done with the commission. So have a great night, everyone. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. So yeah, we're gonna do skin studies again and see if I can get realistic skin. And then once I finally figure out, we can finally go back to the VTubing models and start our lives.
Says G and everyone.
All right, have a good night, guys. I'm out. Laters. And thank you for coming in. I appreciate you, bro.